we call the Twilight Zone.
Steve Kerr, and you look at Steph and Clay, and even Draymond with his lack of performance.
He's at 2 in a row, 7 points for him. The twirling Doncic, melting into the defense. The front carry strikes. Swing, fly ball, well hit left center. Ronald Acuna has homer. Rookie rushing record for the Steelers.
Look, he came into this game averaging 3.67 yards per carry. 42nd out of 49 qualified rushers.
To begin the third quarter. It has been incredible. Here he comes again. Oh, goodness. And a Greek basketball god. And he was a great guy to teach because
Hello, Rally Towel fam. Welcome. Good evening. Gentlemen, 2 weeks in a row, all four of us. Let's go.
That's a beautiful thing.
How's everybody doing this evening, guys?
Doing great, man. Happy to be here. First from Rob. Love it.
What up, Rob?
Jump in the chat.
Rob, hello, welcome. Guys, tonight we got a great show for you. We had a lot of interesting games last
Thanks for
week.
liking the stream, Rob.
It was we were pretty split on our picks last week, and it was definitely interesting to see how it all played out.
Fifth man.
Getting all of the records together here. It was definitely interesting. We all had decent weeks. Todd and I went 9-5. Corey and Aaron went 8-5. So Todd, we got a game back on them.
What are you gonna do?
We all took some games that were definitely different. I think that's the most spread out we've been with how close the records were.
And I think that's probably the worst performance that we've had collectively as a group in terms of wins, losses in a single week.
Yeah, other than the 1 p.m. upset week where like Jacksonville won. It was early in the season, like week 4 or 5, where we all were pretty close to 500 or some. I think even it was either Aaron or myself or under 500.
Yeah, there was one that was pretty bad.
And I think I was really surprised.
The week that Houston won. That's it. It was the week that Houston won.
I was most surprised by the fact that I didn't receive how about them Jaguars text from Aaron.
I sent one.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I literally, because while we were potting, I was like,
okay,
what's going to happen is I'm
exactly,
Titans, and literally exactly what happened. And that's what I texted. I was like, this is the moment on Sunday where I text you guys that the Jags are winning.
He called it the obligatory 3:30 Jags text.
You know who did rub it in your face was me.
Yeah,
but I picked the Jags. I was polite
about
it.
I know.
That was my pick of the week, though. That was my pick of the week. I'm pretty proud of that one. Usually that's an Aaron move, though. That's an Aaron move, though, to take the Jags against all of us. So I was surprised that you didn't hop on that bandwagon last week, Aaron. But I'm happy you didn't.
Yeah, I should have.
All right. Well, as it stands, last week. First and foremost, the football community lost a very, very awesome member this week. Head coach, Mississippi State. Just some devastating news, guys. Absolutely devastating.
Yeah. So I think first things first, let's pay respects to the king of air raid himself, Mr. Mike Leach, developing 9 NFL quarterbacks in his time. Over 15 coaches are branches of Mike Leach, either in the NFL and college football, most notably Lincoln Riley, head coach of USC, obviously Cliff Kingsbury of the Cardinals, former Texas Tech Red Raider. I think maybe Corey, you relate with me a little bit on this, like as a parent to see a guy who, is a father of 5 and a grandfather of 3 to pass so suddenly, it hits a little bit harder.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. Also, just because it was, I think the quickness of it all was probably the worst part about it.
Yeah.
And also just the kind of person and personality that he was, more so the latter there, that I'm familiar with. I'm not too familiar with, Mike Leach as a person. You get what he is portrayed as, but I think the personality, at least for college football, was a breath of fresh air, I think is the best way to look at it. One of the things that stands out to me is his approach to the college football playoff situation. He's referencing, how are college football is talking about how are we going to expand this college football playoff? He's, well, why don't we look below us? Let's look at high school. How do they do it? Oh, it's a playoff. How does D2 do it? 1AA. Let's look to the NFL. So, and it's not just 4 goddamn teams. So he's just
thanks for liking the stream.
He just wasn't a guy that really he didn't bend or to the mold. He made his own and did what he wanted to do, and he was his own person all the way to the end.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
It was a sad day for sure for football as a sport.
Yeah, and I think you look at what Mike Leach is, right? You talked about his personality being so great as a coach and how he kind of portrays himself. And for us, our generation of sports, he's kind of our Bobby Knight, right? The really outspoken, not afraid to share his opinion, just really direct coach. And in today's, PR popularity where you have to watch your P's and Q's, he wasn't a guy that was afraid to speak his truth. So I was really upset to hear again how, like Corey said, how quick it was. And, you look back at his accolades and he's not he hasn't won any national championships, but he really is a guy that transcended college football and, and creating and solidifying the air raid offense and, paved the way for us to watch guys like Pat Mahomes on Sunday. I mean, he was an integral part of creating that offense. So I was really upset. I had a moment, Monday afternoon where I was talking about it with a coworker of mine. And I was just like, obviously it's the worst thing to deal with, but when I don't know, it sucks when it's somebody that you feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, it happened so quick, man. I mean, I feel like we got the announcement that he had a medical emergency, and then like hours later, it seemed like they're like, okay, like there's nothing we can do.
Yeah. We were watching the game together Sunday. And I remember I said it popped up on ESPN. I was like, oh shit, Mike Leach is in the hospital. And by Monday morning, it was over. Yeah. So just really unfortunate.
That's unfortunate, man. I mean, he's just like, he was a real one, he was a guy that anytime he popped on screen, it was always entertaining. He kept it real and he was kind of just a funny guy. You know what I mean? Like I'm not surprised that players gravitated towards him.
Yeah.
And he was just he was very authentic and it's really sad. And obviously, shout out to his family and loved ones and everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into the records here. So like I said, we got a game back. Todd and I are 121-70. Corey and Aaron are 125-66. We got a game back. It is week 15. We have, 15? We got 4 weeks. 4 weeks of football left. So
that's right.
Todd, we got 4 weeks to make up some ground. Let's get into it, not waste any more time with this. So, all right. First game on the board tomorrow night. We have the San Francisco 49ers, led by Brock Purdy, headed to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Aaron, I'll let you lead this one off, man. Let's get you started off on the right foot this week.
Yeah, I mean, 49ers have been a completely different team since they traded for McCaffrey, and it seems like the quarterback hasn't really mattered as much. Garoppolo is, pretty much league average at best, and Purdy has come in and played admirably, especially for the Mr. Irrelevant guy. That defense is just so insanely legitimate that, I mean, you can argue Bosa is Defensive Player of the Year. There's a couple guys even on that roster that you can make a strong case for. I think the Seahawks are kind of fading a little bit. I faded them last week with the Panthers. That kind of worked out. They were a really, really good story, but I think they're kind of regressing back to the mean a little bit here. And I think the 49ers are a legitimate NFC championship caliber roster, even with questions at the quarterback position, because I think they're just so loaded everywhere else on the roster. Kind of similar to the time Garoppolo took him to the Super Bowl last time. I'm going to take the 49ers here, and I think it'll be a pretty good game, though.
Yeah, Todd.
Yeah, I think, the good news for Seattle, it sounds like that Kenneth Walker III is going to be coming back to play tomorrow, which if we saw anything from that game from Seattle on Sunday afternoon is without having someone to solidify some touches in the backfield, they really struggled to move the ball because they relied on Geno Smith so much to put the ball in the air and try to make big plays. And Carolina just schemed it right. Obviously, they still gave up 3 touchdowns, but they schemed it right. They forced them to move the ball further down the field and kind of chip it away, as Geno Smith has done so well this year. And I think you're going to see it a little bit harder and faster from San Francisco. I don't think it really matters who Kyle Shanahan puts at quarterback. I just think that they know how to move the ball up and down the field, and there's enough athletes in that offense to make it work. Obviously Brock Purdy winning his first start against Tom Brady, it's really cool, especially to do it in front of his family. All that's cool. But I think the big thing I saw from him is that he just makes good decisions. And, and when you have a defense like San Francisco's who's able to keep you off the field just enough time to regroup and get back out there, that's all you really need to be able to do is just be a time clock manager. So I'm taking the Niners on the road here. I agree with Aaron. I just think the Seahawks are their colors are coming out, their true colors.
Sure. Corey.
Yeah, I just think looking at both sides of the ball here, obviously offensively, both these teams currently rank in terms of production, first downs or touchdowns are in the top 10. Right, so their offenses know how to move the football. Obviously, a big weapon back, Todd mentioned, and Kenneth Walker III coming back. But when you're looking at the defense, obviously we know where the 49ers are stacking up on defense. Seattle, in terms of allowing touchdowns or first downs, actually ranks 27th in the league right now. So I just think that disparity is a little bit too much, in what you're getting out of the 49ers right now. So I'm going to take them to win. I will say, though, that I think what we're seeing out of the 49ers is pretty consistent with what we've been seeing over the last couple of seasons, in that they're a team that is really good, but I'm not quite convinced that they have what it takes to get to the Super Bowl just yet. I think that they will win at least a playoff game. I think they have that in them. What that looks like beyond that, I'm just not certain. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just not certain of it yet.
Yeah, no.
Carl, thanks for the stream.
Ryan saying old handsome Squidward's going back to the Pats next year and retire after that. Maybe. He's not having a great year, Tom Brady. But no, I really liked what I saw.
I think they're good. Week. I think the Pats are good.
I don't think they may not want Tom Brady.
Yeah,
that's a good point. But no, I was really impressed with Brock and the way that he was able to place the ball last week. I know that he's playing the Bucs, and the Bucs don't have necessarily the greatest defense, but he made a lot of passes that were on point in traffic. That running game looked solid. I'm convinced that anybody can go there and play quarterback right now. What I want to see moving forward into the end of the season for Brock Purdy is I want to see him separate himself and show us why he's not just a placeholder for the next guy. I want him to, he's a young guy, he's Mr. Irrelevant, who's now Mr. Relevant, but I'm rooting for him. He's an underdog. I'd like to see the guy continue to keep the job. Obviously you've got Trey Lance there, coming back. So if he can take them deep into the playoffs, it could be the question of quarterback next year. But no, the 49ers, they're rolling. Last week they looked fantastic. There's no way they drop it this week to Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. Come on. All right.
Which, by the way, Bobby, you owe me.
Well, you owe
me something.
Yeah, I will do whatever you want.
Nick, thanks for liking the stream.
We didn't discuss terms. I'm not prepared to talk about Pete Carroll in a positive light right now, but I will do it.
That's fine. Also, you just said whatever I want, so we have opened Pandora's box.
Yeah. So for those of you that didn't catch this portion of the show last week, Corey, we went again. We went again on on the bet, and that was what was the bet?
So
What
it
game
was Houston. You gave me Houston.
Oh yeah,
plus,
Houston
plus 21.
Plus 21. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yikes!
And they covered.
Yeah,
They did.
They did.
Shit, they almost won. One of my guys that I work with, he's a Cowboys fan. I was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much were you shitting your pants on Sunday? He's like 17. So that was a close game last week, much closer than we all anticipated. We will get to that game shortly.
The whole world anticipated that game, or didn't anticipate how close that game was. I mean, Houston was winning for 56 minutes. It's insane.
Yeah. Did the Cowboys even lead until they took it in the fourth?
They scored first, and that was it.
Yikes. Well, obviously raised some concerns for the Cowboys, but let's move on. We've got the Indianapolis Colts headed to the land of Kirk Cousins at 1:00.
Saturday.
Football, baby. Let's
Saturday
go.
game.
We get 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
That's correct.
I thought that was next week. I thought that was.
No, we're doing that too. That's Christmas Eve.
Both.
Yeah. We got all day. It's
Both of
Saturday all day for the next 2 weeks, and then you get a little sprinkle of Christmas
fantastic.
joy of football.
So this is a Kirk Cousins we've never seen before. We've seen Kirk Cousins at 1:00 on a Sunday. We've never seen him at 1:00 on a Saturday.
It's even earlier.
You did it, Michigan State.
That's true.
Yeah, but those were noon games. That's different.
That's true.
Yeah, you're about halfway through the second quarter at this point.
Yeah.
We're in a completely different time slot. But yeah, so we got the Colts headed to Minnesota. Vikings got handed their shit last week, if we're being honest here. Corey, I'll let you lead it off. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I think that was a fantastic game, that Lions-Vikings game, and the Vikings defense is fucking bad, guys. They're really, really bad. We continue to see why the Vikings are the luckiest team in the NFL. They haven't really proven themselves around anybody. I think they have a negative point differential now, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's -1. As a 10-3 team, they have a -1 point differential. It's absolutely insane. That being said, I still think they're better than the Colts, and I think they win on Saturday.
Against Saturday.
And yeah, against Jeff Saturday. So moving on to 11-3.
All right, Todd.
Yeah, I think what you saw against the Lions is a culmination of you're playing in your division on the road. You're playing right now probably the second hottest team in football. So and the Detroit Lions. So I think that you caught
Who's the first?
The Bengals.
Where are the Eagles in that?
Third.
Okay. All right. Just making sure we don't forget about Philadelphia. Nobody likes to talk about
No.
We forget that they're just fucking piss railing people every week.
Everybody. But it's been consistent over the entire course of the season, though. It's not like their foot's just been on the gas since drive one.
It's just an eternal flame, and you're like,
yeah, they're eternally flamed. They're not.
That's not a hot streak. It's just
we're measuring change in temperature here, guys. On Rally's House Wars, we're not talking about constant temperature here.
No,
all right, this isn't core temp.
I'm talking. You're at the high stakes table, and you hit like six of the next 8 hands. That's where the Bengals and Lions are right now, right? This is just the Eagles are a grandma on a slot machine that's just crushing it. Just is walking $10 at a time. $10 at a time, maybe a 50-cent, couple losses.
I'm gonna be able to see Donnie and Marie tomorrow.
Exactly. That's where Philadelphia is to me, and I'll give them their credit here once we talk about them. But I think Corey took the words right out of my mouth. I was just gonna echo the Vikings defense is just rough, and this isn't the offense that's gonna really test them, though, right? I think we've played this song and dance all year with the Colts where everybody's high on them, and then everyone's let down. Jeff Saturday comes out and beats the Raiders and then doesn't know how to manage the last 2 minutes of a football game. I don't think it matters in this game, not being able to manage the clock or know how much time left or know if you have any timeouts either. I think it's going to be the Vikings, and it's going to start early.
Yeah. Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking the Vikings here. They had a bad showing last week against the Lions. And we're right. This is not a great, team according to their record. or I mean, as opposed to what their record is showing. The defense is not looking good. The offense is doing enough, which is, no problem. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is, probably the best, if not one of the best receivers in the league.
1,500 yards.
Yeah. I mean,
Crazy.
what he's doing there is just absolutely insane. And, no slight against Kirk Cousins, but, I'd only imagine how Jefferson would be doing with, I would say, a top echelon quarterback as well. But at the same time, like the Colts, there was a lot of people that were on the Jeff Saturday hire when it happened and saying this is ridiculous. He wins his first game and everyone's like, oh, where are all these people now? And he hasn't won a game since. And it's like, well, he just like the team kind of got up for him. You see it happen all the time when a coach gets fired, the team wins, and then they're just fucking trash. And that's really just is what happened. And
this is
now
exactly
those people won't say anything about it. Like
this is verbatim what happened last year with the Raiders, right? I think we even talked about it after the whole Gruden debacle. That
sure
I think it was Corey.
Yeah, but didn't they hire a coach to do the job?
No, it was an interim special teams coach. But the difference with what the Raiders did is they continued to win and actually went to the playoffs. Like that.
Right. Well, I guess my parallel is that it was just a team that rallied around.
Sure.
Somebody who had been there all season.
Yeah. Right. And right. And I just think the Colts have. I don't know.
There's no parallels to it.
Yeah,
It's
a crazy organization to kind of just watch, just because, I mean, they've stumbled into two of the greatest quarterback prospects of all time, and got one Super Bowl out of it. So, pretty interesting.
So I'll go Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason. There's no reason to pick the Colts this week. Obviously, Vikings had a down week last week, but they just couldn't compete with the powerhouse of the offense that is the Detroit Lions. Another cool story from last week, which I'm sure most of you saw. Jameson Williams caught his first touchdown pass. In January of this year, tore his ACL. December this year, his first catch is a touchdown in the NFL. So, pretty inspiring story for him. But yeah, I got the Vikings this week. I think Kirk Cousins and Jay Jeff rebound Saturday at 1:00. Saturday football, man. I'm absolutely amped. You guys just changed my whole weekend.
You're welcome.
All right. So we are gonna go to another AFC North divisional game. I don't know how many of these we're gonna see in the next couple weeks in one division, but I feel like the AFC North has been just absolutely put against each other for the last portion of the NFL season.
They did it heavy in the beginning of the year, and it's heavy again towards the end. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, it makes for some great football.
Yeah.
We got the Baltimore Ravens headed to Cleveland to take on the Browns, who had a tough week last week against the Benjis. Todd, I'll let you lead this one off. Who you taking?
So everything I've read is that Tyler Huntley will not be playing. Right? It's
full participant today in practice.
Yeah, I did. So I saw that, right? But he still has to clear protocol, which he has not done so.
He can practice if not clearing protocol? That's interesting.
That's my understanding is that
I would assume as long as there's no contact.
That's interesting.
I could be wrong though. My understanding of the rule was that you could be a full participant in practice as long as is based on position, right? It's a non-contact position in practice. So
okay.
But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I wasn't questioning. I was more curious that, go ahead.
So I think the interesting thing about this game is that we've talked about when you watch Tyler Huntley on the field with Baltimore, the ball just flows. It just moves better. Obviously, having J.K. Dobbins back was quite the addition for them last week against Pittsburgh. I think a lot of people were still questioning that like next level speed, right? I think you guys all know what I'm talking about. The play where he gets downfield and he gets caught up on pretty quickly by, I believe it was Minkah Fitzpatrick when they get into the red zone, and everybody was questioning like, well, what is JK healthy yet? What's he doing out there? He can't even get to the next level. But I mean, he had a great game. He still really kept Baltimore in the win column in this game. I think if you rely on Anthony Jones to have to put the ball in the air, say Pittsburgh, takes a lead, it it gets a little hairy for Baltimore, right? And obviously Kenny Pickett going down made it a little bit easier for the Ravens as well. But fellas, I'm going with gut here. I'm taking the Browns at home. I don't have any logic behind it. I was thinking about this game a lot when what I was gonna say, how I was gonna prepare myself, and I would contradict myself back and forth what I'm going to say about the Browns. So I'm just going to leave it at that. My gut tells me to take Cleveland this week.
There you go. Carp actually agrees with you. He said Huntley practiced today, doesn't know if he'll play, but he's got the Browns 24-17.
Yeah.
Todd, I don't think you're crazy this week. You know, I really liked what I saw out of Deshaun Watson last week, even though they did lose in Cincinnati. They went up against one of the best defenses in the league, and that's his second game back. So the difference in Deshaun Watson between his first week back against the Texans and last week against the Bengals, night and day. Just imagine what one more week of practice can do for him.
God.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I was just cramping. Aaron's not entertained.
This is not just a visual medium anymore, Corey.
But no, I mean, I love the Browns running game. There's obviously a lot of questions at quarterback for the Ravens. J.K. Dobbins was strong last week. He ran right through that Steelers defense and made it pretty tough for him. So I'm taking the Browns this week. It's gonna be a closely fought game. But I think one more week under the belt for Deshaun Watson. I think that he's going to finally put it together this week and take this divisional game while the Ravens are hurting just a little bit. Corey.
Yeah, I think first half Deshaun was pretty good. Moved the ball effectively. The offense was going. I think the main thing was how effective the defense was against Nick Chubb and the limited action that he was able to, or limited production rather, that Nick Chubb contributed to that game. And he's such a vital point to that offense, even, whether it's, yardage production, goal line production, or just putting consistency into the offense, giving them an option to be able to hand it off or throw the ball at any given time.
Yeah, he's the ebbs and flows of that offense.
Yeah, and so when you take that away, it makes it a little bit easier to defend. And I think you kind of saw that towards the second half. I can't recall if it was like an atrocious pick to Jesse Bates in the second half, but nonetheless, it was an interception. But it didn't look as seamless. But he did look better. He looked absolutely better. I think that progression continues this week, moving it against the Ravens, and I think the Browns win.
Yeah, absolutely. Aaron.
Yeah, and Corey, to answer your question there on the pick side of it, if you watch that play, the defensive back was what looked like was going to follow the underneath receiver, and then he stayed there. So he kind of baited him in. Yeah, which and had Deshaun waited an extra half second, the receiver that he thought the DB was going to be following would have been wide open. So you are seeing those type of things. And the one thing I'll mention here that you guys haven't mentioned yet is first home game. He's had 2 games to start in Houston and in Cincinnati, which, let's face it, first game back in Houston, that's his old team.
That's something. Yeah.
That's something. And then, of course, you have the Bengals interdivision rival. It's now anywhere that they go on the road is not going to be friendly territory outside of the fact that Browns fans travel pretty well, regardless of where the game is. But yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said about that. And then just kind of a middle stack of a Saturday game, although it's considered prime time, I actually think there's less eyes on it because people just aren't used to watching football on Saturday at 4:00. If you're going to watch one, it's probably going to be the early one or it's going to be the late one if you only have the ability to watch one. It's probably not the one sandwiched in the middle. So there's just something about not being as many eyes on this game. If I knew more about Huntley in this game, I'd be a lot more it'd be a lot easier for me to take the Ravens, but I'm going to take the Browns in this one as well. At home, we've seen Deshaun make steps every single game. Last week, like you guys said, I mean, he played a really, really good defense that is, let's face it, it's just a team that's hitting their stride right now. The Browns defense is a little bit banged up. We saw JOK go out for the season. There's already injuries. They're basically, at backups around a lot of positions outside of the secondary and, Miles and Clowney. But I think the Browns can hang on to this one. We saw how close they were there against the Ravens on the road with Lamar. I'll take the Browns in this one.
Yeah, no. Scott coming in with a couple comments here. Says he's hoping that they beat Philly. I'm sorry, Miami. Excuse me.
Yeah.
My apologies. And then he came back with a question and said, "Do you think Frazier will play more press, disrupt the route running? We need to take away that first read, in my opinion."
So he's talking about the defensive coordinator here, the Buffalo Bills, Leslie Frazier, and going against the Dolphins. I guess we'll just go ahead and get into the.
It's a great transition.
It's the next game on the board. So we got the Dolphins on the road in Buffalo.
Scott just serving up segues, baby. I love it.
Thank you.
Love it.
Corey, take
Paul
it
Blart.
Sure.
Peanut butter fills the cracks in the heart, baby.
Yeah. God damn it. All right. Yeah, this is an interesting game. I think the Dolphins have kind of continued to prove that they're not necessarily what we thought they were in terms of a team going long into the playoffs. I have almost written them off as a Super Bowl contender at this point. I think the Bills defense is legit. And Aaron, you've made the point a couple of times on the show, and you know, they're a year early, right?
Yeah. When you say like they're not rising up to what we thought they were, I think they're playing exactly like look at the beginning of the season where they're doing great.
Sure. Yeah. So beginning of the season to now, yes, Dolphins are exceeding expectations. 5 weeks ago, I would say that they're tapering off a little bit. Still plenty of time to correct that, obviously, but I think the Bills defense is a legit defensive unit, and I think we'll continue to see what we've seen out of the Dolphins when they face a legitimate defensive unit, and that they shrivel a little bit. I got the Bills here.
Yeah, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, you're right though. I have been pretty high on the Dolphins, and you know, I took
Bills -7, by the way.
Right. And the other thing too is there's, at least I saw it a couple days ago, that there is a chance for some inclement weather there in Buffalo as well. That can play a factor into this. You've seen the Dolphins do it all year at home, where they're like, we're going to hang out on the shady side. You guys hang out in the 120-degree sun. So I kind of hope they get fucking snowed in there in Buffalo and just like,
and then have to play at Ford Field again.
Exactly. Have to play at 8:00 on a cold Saturday in December. Not even like one where there's a little snow or sun to melt the snow. It's just fucking cold, right? I just like the Dolphins. I like a lot of their players. I like McDaniel a lot. I know we got some Bills fans that are tuning in and are following. I'm taking the Bills. The Bills.
I thought you were going the other way with that.
No. I took the Dolphins to beat them earlier in the year. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to that well twice.
Right.
I just think that Buffalo at home in December. The one thing I will say is Buffalo, and we've said it the last couple of weeks, Buffalo just does not look like that same team at the beginning of the year. Yeah. So if I'm Buffalo, I'm still like, yeah, you're stringing wins together, so there's not really a problem. But I'm just concerned in what I'm seeing.
Sure. Todd.
Yeah. Just real quick here, Bob. Sorry, is a couple of things just kind of in press conferences, you know, since the wrap up of the last couple of games. One of, I think, I don't know which reporter, but it was a reporter that was interviewing Josh Allen and basically made the comments like, you know, they're talking about the offense and lack of production, and basically it was just like, you know, this doesn't look like an offense that can win a Super Bowl. And Josh Allen's response is like, okay. Like, what do you want me to say to that? First of all, dickhead thing to say as a reporter to Josh Allen.
What's the question?
Yeah, what's the question? Like, are you serious right now? Yeah, it's like, all right, dickhead. But another thing, McDaniel's given the Bills a little bit of little bulletin board material, and more so Bills fans bulletin board material, just commenting on the city of Buffalo, who vacations in Buffalo, things like that. So I'm sure
Joking McDaniel over there.
I'm sure that Bills Mafia will be turned up and turning out for this one, especially when they got all fucking day to break through some fucking tables
and a day to sleep it off.
Yeah.
Forget about it. Todd.
So I think the interesting thing that we've watched out of Miami 2 weeks in a row, specifically Miami's offense, is that they faced a 49ers defense that they did exactly what we expected them to do, right? They limited production. And then they go and play the Chargers, and the Chargers defense isn't anything to write home about, right? We've talked about it on here. It's a real lackluster defense as a whole. But the thing that they did to Tua that San Francisco also did to Tua is they made him not throw the ball over the middle of the field. That's the recipe. If I'm Leslie Frazier, right? I've watched 2 weeks in a row Tua not be able to hit the ball on the sidelines, not be able to check down and get into the flat and make good decisions outside of the hashes. That's the key. You take a guy like Tua out of his element that he's had all year long, and teams really haven't slowed him down in terms of that, right? I mean, you look at the routes that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle run. There's a lot of cross routes. Obviously, Mike Gesicki runs out over the middle a lot. Obviously, with Hill and Waddle, it's their size that puts them in those positions to kind of do the long cross routes in the center field. But I think the Bills figured that out right away. They forced him to do the same thing that they've done the last 2 weeks. They've limited Tua 2 weeks in a row under 200 yards of passing.
That motherfucker kept me out of my fantasy playoffs, dude. Fucking
sure.
10 for 28 to start the game. Are you fucking kidding me, Tua?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And here's the thing: if you watched him on Sunday, he was never comfortable, right? LA kept him completely uncomfortable from snap one to that last series, and that's it. That's the recipe. Is that I don't know if he's quite savvy enough to make the adjustments. And obviously Mike McDaniel is, right? I think anybody that comes from that Shanahan family of coaching, they understand how to run and mold the offense. But I don't know if Tua I don't know if he has the full mix. That's why I'm taking Buffalo. I just don't think Tua makes the necessary adjustments.
For sure. And just a correction there on Corey's Tua keeping him out of the playoffs. It was your shitty moves for the first 13 weeks that did it. It wasn't Tua on the last day.
All right. Did you not get enough sleep last evening? All right. Grumpy Gills. Okay.
Arms crossed, drinking a Budweiser.
No, Christmas ale.
Oh, yeah, okay. Dude. No, I mean Tua's uncomfortable, so that's
I
either
didn't make the playoffs in our college league. It's cool. The irony of my comment is I lost. I won, but because somebody scored more points than me, I didn't make it into the playoffs. So,
dude, I had the same. I got
leapfrogged.
Fucking Ramondre. Ramondre busted me in 2 leagues.
He fucked me too. Yeah.
I got leapfrogged in 2 leagues.
Hey, the man got hurt. The man got
hurt. But I also needed 7.1 points, and I didn't get it. I understand injuries happen in football, but
but why didn't he know that Todd needed that?
Right.
Well, what he doesn't realize is that I had to wake up. Up yesterday morning and tell Mary, like, I didn't make the playoffs in 2 of my leagues.
Well,
she's like, well, guess you have to sleep fucking outside then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're fit to be?
She only lets winter sweep up there, Todd.
I'm leaving now.
The ramifications of this, if I don't win in the league that I made the playoffs in, I got to drop out of a league next year. That's the agreement we made.
Oh, are you getting relegated?
Yeah, I got to make my money back.
Wait, run that back by me one more time.
So I made a deal with Mary. Obviously, as I've continued to get myself into more leagues and drop more cash.
If you don't win, you're out.
I have to make my money back that I put in.
And that starts next year. If you don't do it next year, you're done.
Oh no, that's been going on for 2 years. I've just been winning.
Oh,
well, doesn't that bank?
Well, yeah, dude. What's your fucking total over under here, bro? Like, what do you? Come on.
You're still net positive.
Okay, so here's the deal. Let's next week. If I say I don't make it out of the first round of the playoffs, we're gonna bring Mary into here, and you can explain to her the positive net worth of that. And tell me how that works.
I'll send you home with a note on your backpack.
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking avoid that one.
Okay, don't give me that advice because you're just wrong.
I think I'm getting sick, guys. I don't know if I'm going to be here next week. All right. I don't think I made my pick. I'm taking the Bills here. I don't see a world in where the Dolphins. I mean, especially if you're going to have inclement weather like there was last week in Buffalo, that was unbelievable. I just don't see Miami surviving that. So I'm taking the Bills here.
So Todd, here's what you do here. I'm thinking about this. Instead of fantasy football, you need a new hobby that's more annoying. I think you just cover your living room with a replica of the Gettysburg Battle. Start painting tin soldiers in the room. Big magnifying glass. Just the house smells like lead-based paints and things of the sort. And you just go the other way with it. It's like, please fucking start playing fantasy football again.
Or bagpipes. Because you will start bad, and even if you get better, it'll still going to sound like shit.
It's still annoying.
Still annoying. Like, is someone strangling a duck in our living room?
Yeah.
So I'll tell Mary, sorry I didn't make my money back, but this just means I got to start playing multiple orchestral instruments, one of those being the bagpipes, and I have to practice.
I don't know how many orchestra performances you've seen in your life, Todd, but the bagpipes is not prominent in them.
In Scotland.
Maybe it'll bring one positive thing. Maybe those kids
have
will
you never
stop
been to? Obviously, you've never been to the Scottish Yard.
It's true.
No.
We should do a live broadcast from there, Todd.
I would love that. I would love to go back there. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Gave me chills.
All right. Let's get back on track here, boys.
Thanks, Bobby.
All right. Next game, Rob. I'm sorry. I don't think this one's going to be too terribly tough of a decision for us. We got the Eagles headed to Chicago to take on the Bears. I love Justin Fields. I love what he's done this season. But the Eagles are just a supernova right now, and Bears aren't going to be the one. So taking the Eagles here. Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles are just operating at just an entirely different wavelength than the rest of the NFL, in my opinion. And like they're absolutely running away with the NFC, and of course there's some challengers that can potentially meet them in the Super Bowl coming from the AFC side. There's no doubt about that. And I mean, listen, I agree with you. Like I like what Fields is doing. Bears have a lot to be happy about, a lot of things to look forward to for next season. But unfortunately, at this point, you're kind of playing for next season. When you take a look at them, well, I mean, let's face it, they're 3-10, right? They're not doing anything from their position. And the Eagles they're amazing.
Perfect. Todd?
Yeah, so I think it'll be pretty cool. We're going to probably see Justin Fields crack 2,000 yards in the air and 1,000 yards on the ground, roughly 100 yards away from each of those statistical milestones for the season. That's including him sitting out a week as well. And obviously not running as much in the first couple of weeks either, not utilizing their weapon in the correct way. But yeah, Philadelphia is the all-season hottest team, right? I'm not going to say they're on the hot streak. They've been hot all year. They haven't turned that gas stove off yet. And it's really cool to watch them. I mean, I got to watch a lot of the Giants game, and that's a fun team to watch. It really is. It's a fun team to watch.
Absolutely. Corey?
Yeah, the only thing that I just am thinking about here is if they're, maybe do a little bit of schedule looking at this point and looking ahead to next week, as obviously they've got the Cowboys on the road in Dallas there. So maybe a little bit of looking there. But, to be honest with you, there's only one game that I'm probably going to not pick the Eagles for the rest of the season, and that's Week 18 against the Giants, because they're probably going to be resting all their starters. I'm taking the Eagles here.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to a game that I think this might be the first game we're split on this week. Maybe. We've got the Detroit Lions coming off a great win last week, headed a little bit east to take on the New York Jets. Todd, I will let you lead this one off, sir.
Boy, I knew you were going to do that to me.
Hey, I got to spread the love.
Guys, I mean, I said it, the Lions are the second hottest team right now in football, putting a ton of points on the board. Obviously, getting Jameson Williams helps them some, right? I mean, he's not playing a ton. He's not super impactful. But again, as I like what Bobby said at the beginning, it's really cool to see him get on the field and score a touchdown his first go about in the NFL. But the big thing for me is just I think that the Jets, with where they stand, and I mean, I'm sure you guys heard the news. Zach Wilson is the backup quarterback again, right? They announced that today. Saleh announced that today. They're going back to Wilson as the number 2. Obviously, Mike White got hit cleanly, right? They were clean hits, but just got his shit rocked last week multiple times, hard enough that he was immediately taken to the hospital post-game to check for internal bleeding based on the damage that was done to his ribs. I'm thinking that we're going to see Zach Wilson on Sunday for the Jets. That's kind of where my head's going right now. And if it's Zach Wilson leading that Jets offense, I'm taking the Lions here because he just can't move the ball up and down the field. He doesn't use their best weapon, which is Garrett Wilson. He doesn't use him well. And Jared Goff's not afraid to show the love. And I think the only concern I have with Jared Goff is that you get him outside of the dome and Ford Field. He does seem to struggle when he gets into the cold weather or really any weather after October. So I see the offense slowing down a little bit in Detroit, but I do think that they beat the Jets on Sunday.
Aaron,
what is the status of White? Is it
so the tweet that I read after the game, he like cracked a rib, went in for x-rays the first time he went out. He came back. He got hit in the chest again, left, got x-rays again, came back, finished the game, and then got taken to the hospital. So we don't know if this dude has, all 14 ribs.
It was a quote precautionary ambulance is what he took, as a precautionary ambulance, because most ambulances are precautionary, right? I mean,
of course, duh.
Yeah, but they can afford it, man. That's just like an Uber ride for them.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's on staff. I'm sure it is. It is a New York Jets owned ambulance service. 100%. Right. Yeah.
So, listen, I think what the Lions have been doing is fantastic. The interesting thing is I'm showing an even line on this game, which you don't see it very often where you're going to get a pick 'em. Obviously, the Jets are at home. That's going to factor into it, but the Lions have an offense that can put up points with the best of them and a defense that can let up points with the best of them. I'm going to favor the Jets in this one. The Jets have a very, very good defense. I think Sauce Gardner has shown that he is already a top 5 corner in the league, if not going to threaten to be the best one in this league in the next 2 or 3 years. The Lions do have a little bit of, like, Amon-Ra is not like your typical number one where you have to like blanket him, cover him like that. He's shifty, he moves all around the field. He can line up in the slot, he can line up in the X, he can line up in the Y. So that'll be interesting to see what the Jets do with their best chess piece, where they put the queen on the board, right? And that's Sauce Gardner. Is he gonna blanket him the whole game? Is he gonna play on the outside? Obviously we've seen what Williams can do last week, even though he's still coming back from injury. So I think that's gonna be the really, really interesting part of this game. But like you guys said, they're Goff outside, Jets at home, and I'm going to take the better defense over the better offense in a game that I think the Jets just have to slow them down, where the Jets are only going to get that, Mario Kart speed ramp in the game from their offense playing the Lions defense. I'm going to take the Jets in this game.
Corey.
Yeah, so when looking at production that we referenced earlier tonight, when we were considering the Seahawks and the 49ers, looking at from the offensive side, how often are teams getting first downs or scoring touchdowns? And then on the defensive side, how often are they allowing first downs or touchdowns in terms of that production? When you're looking at those, they're about even. The Lions are 5th in offensive production, and the Jets are 5th in defensive resistance of production, if you will, defensive production. So producing on defense is not allowing production. So looking for a way to phrase that. But so when you're considering, when you're considering that, it's, it makes 100% sense why this is a pick 'em right here. What you're looking at, obviously, home team needs to be considered. Doesn't look like weather's going to be too much of a factor. I think it's looking like 35 and clear. Obviously, a lot can change between now and Sunday, but look like 35 in clear conditions. So that, not too much of a hamper there. But when I look at these close games, it comes down to the little things. And one of the little things that I'm looking at is coaching decisions and converting fourth downs. Not giving away, not punting the ball in plus territory or close to plus territory. Those are ways that you can statistically make yourself lose a game. The only problem is Dan Campbell does not give a fuck about that. He goes for it all the time. He is Randy Marsh with a wheelbarrow full of nuts. and just trotting around South Park like da da da. That is Dan Campbell 100%. Only problem is Jets defense is too good. And I think they shut him down. I think Dan Campbell is going to take some risks because they paid off a lot last week, and I think it might bite him a little bit. So it's going to come down to coaching decisions, and I'm going to go with Robert, and I'm going to take the Jets.
So I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a video that posted. It was Dan Campbell. I think he was on a podcast the day after.
Pat McAfee.
Yeah, it was Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
They were talking about that last play where they threw it to Penne, and he was like, honestly, I just heard a bunch of gibberish in the headset because I was distracted by something else, and I just agreed to it. And then I turned around.
Doing the wave.
The fans doing the wave. That's what it was.
I think it's a little tongue in cheek, guys. I think he's.
It has to be, but either way, it's hilarious. And he just turns around. And he's like, "Wait a minute, why the fuck are we throwing it to Penne?" Hey, but it worked. Maybe that was just a little CYA on his end. Just in case it didn't work. Well, if you call this, I'm not backing you up on this. It's all you.
But he went the opposite way and took less credit for it after the fact, which is kind of a baller move.
Yeah. So
he's like, I don't know, I didn't know what was going on, as opposed to if it didn't work and going, yeah, I was distracted, which actually would sound like shit too. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I wasn't listening.
For his sake, I'm just glad it worked out because I think he's a great coach.
Also, going for it on 4th and 7, the fake punt from your own 30-yard line is just fucking ass. It's stupid. First of all, great it worked out, but that's stupid.
It's not an intelligent play.
No, it's not. But hey, it worked out. So the lower percentile, works, right? Rose above. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, with that being said, I have been riding the Lions train pretty hot the last couple of weeks, but I don't see it this week. As long as Zach
get my game back, boys.
As long as Zach Wilson doesn't touch the field, I think the Jets will be in a good spot. So I'm taking the Jets here.
It does look like Mike White will be wearing a quadruple flak jacket. That's basically how they're going to suit him up for this game. Like, what Justin Herbert wore, where it looked like, the flak jacket basically was bigger than his shoulder pads. That's what Mike White will be wearing on Sunday.
So the interesting thing to me is this game is a pick'em, right? But the over-under is 44.5. So that means the implied total is 23-22 or 22-21. Depending on whether the over or the under hits, because it's a pick 'em. Somebody has to win. So let's assume it's not going to be a tie, right? The Lions have gone in the last couple of games here. Sorry, I just had it pulled up. Bear with me. 34 points, 40, 28, 31, 31. They haven't scored less than that amount of points since the Packers game. Otherwise, every game this year, they've scored above 22 or 23 points. So although it is a pick'em game, the fact that the over-under leans towards the Lions, basically Vegas is saying, all right, well, the Lions are going to score the least amount of points that they've scored all year, to me actually favors the Jets.
Interesting.
Wow, that's crazy.
And you get that shit here at Rally Towel Sports.
Because I have a problem, and I can't even do it legally here until the 1st. and then every week you're going to see it's going to be like a construction site down me where everything's just getting stripped down. Like, I don't have anything left.
Yeah, where'd that couch go, Aaron? This guy on Facebook Marketplace gave me $200 for it. It's pretty sweet.
Coming at you guys live from a McDonald's because that's where I can get Wi-Fi.
Oh my God! All right.
That's funny.
All right. Next game on the board, we got the Steelers on the road versus Carolina. Who Carolina won a pretty good game last week in Seattle. Steelers coming off an L to the Ravens. Obviously, dealing with some injuries. Kenny Pickett went down.
Is he back or is he still in protocol?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay. That's
Todd, Corey, do you guys know anything?
I'll take a look.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say
I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything pop up about Pickett playing or not playing. So I don't know. But this is
the first thing I read is Kenny Pickett's status uncertain. Mason Rudolph welcomes possibility to play.
Jesus.
Yeah, I bet he does.
Also, in breaking news, water is wet.
Breaking news: Mike Tomlin learns that Mason's still on roster.
So, Corey, I just got the answer to your question about concussion protocol. So Kenny Pickett has been practicing this week and is still in protocol.
Okay.
So there's the answer to that question.
Interesting.
That was something I was also unaware
Isn't
of.
like the number one cure for concussions, like symptoms and concussion, isn't the number one cure for that rest?
Nothing.
Probably.
Yeah. It's an interesting philosophy, guy in concussion protocol. Let's trot him out there and practice.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a quarterback, so there's not much, but you would just think sitting still, not moving around as often as possible would,
Like be at practice and watch practice, but don't participate.
You would just think that would probably be, I don't know. I'm not a fucking doctor. But
yeah.
I agree with you. But this is tough. If Pickett plays, I'm taking the Steelers. If Mason Rudolph takes the field, I'm taking the Panthers. So, it's
too bad you got to pick today.
Yeah, that sounds
decision,
nice, Bobby.
But it's not a simple decision because we don't know who's starting. Oh man.
Is that the cop out? Because I could do that. I love playing that neutral field till the end of the week. I could do that every day.
We put Bobby into picking first, and you just see the sweat start rolling.
Hey, in my team's game, I didn't know whether the opposing quarterback was
I love the Steelers defense against the Panthers. I think the Steelers defense is a much more stout defense than the Panthers have faced in the last couple of weeks. Regardless of who's starting at quarterback for the Steelers, I'm taking Pittsburgh.
Also, Aaron, you are full of piss and vinegar tonight. I just want to echo Corey's thought that maybe somebody shit your Cheerios.
Yeah, dude,
what are you guys talking about?
I love it, first of all, and you love you, but you're just a little angsty. It's okay.
It's saucy. I'll use the term saucy because it's not a bad thing. You're so snippy. I like.
Sorry, I was listening to 2000s to 2010s punk rock hits.
Yeah, a lot of fucking My Chemical Romance.
He's not okay, I promise.
All right, Aaron, take it away. Who you got?
You guys are right. This is a very, very interesting game. So Carolina's favored by 3. Yep. Carolina all of a sudden is in a playoff race.
Yep.
Yeah, they are.
The Buccaneers are sitting at top of the division at 6-7. Who, oh by the way, are playing the Bengals this week, right?
Yep.
So I know the Panthers are thinking about that. They've also oddly started to play better since Sam Darnold has come in the last 2 weeks. 30-24, 23-10 against the Broncos and the Seahawks. I kind of view the Steelers in the same, kind of realm as the Seahawks and who was the other team I just said? I'm sorry. And the
Broncos.
So this isn't going to be a completely out of left field pick to me. I'm going to take the Panthers to go 3 in a row. I'm going to take that team to take a little bit of pride and say, we got rid of our coach, they got rid of Baker, and I think it's a lot of pride on the line for these guys to see what they can get out of this for the remaining the rest of this season, while still having something to legitimately play for. I'm going to take the Panthers here.
Cool. Corey.
Yeah, I'm with Aaron as well. I think the Panthers have been playing pretty good football. I don't trust the Steelers. That offense is really, really bad, so I'm going to bank on Mitch playing. I think that they've got too much riding on Kenny Pickett's future health to risk it. The Steelers aren't trying to get into a playoff spot. There's no reason for them to trot him out there if he's even close. Maybe, let him get the week off and then put him out there when you're 100% confident in his health. I'm not saying you want to take reps away from him, shut him down for the year. He needs that time for him to continue to progress in his career. But I 100% agree with what Aaron's saying here, that the Panthers absolutely have something to play for. They can absolutely win this game. Vegas agrees, and I think they go on and get 3 in a row here. I'm taking the Panthers. Quick comment from Jaws coming into the chat. Mark, appreciate you dropping by, man. Saying, have they said if Beasley will play Saturday? He practiced today. He knows the playbook. I would say yes, he will be activated and probably dressed for that game. What his snap count looks like, I'm not entirely sure or confident that it will match anybody like McKenzie or Davis or anything like that. I don't think he'll be. I think he'll probably be right in that middle tier of snap count. He's just an option for them.
There might be one gadget play he's involved in, and that's about it.
Because they signed John Brown too, right?
Interesting.
Oh, I did not see that.
I didn't see that.
I'm fairly certain John Brown is also maybe he did. Maybe they ended up going the Beasley route instead. But I think the interesting thing about the Cole Beasley signing / coming out of retirement is that they're still not shutting the door on OBJ. And they did sign John Brown. He's been practicing with him the last 2 weeks, which kind of falls into that kind of speed gimmicky. I think they're just looking for wide receiver depth at this point.
They're looking for fucking offensive production. They're looking to shake something up, man. It's just
I think that's the big thing. They need depth. That's really what it comes down to. I think it's been exposed a couple of times this year where depth or valid options for Allen to get the ball out. They just weren't always necessarily there, and you get a guy like a John Brown who similar to Cole Beasley is kind of gimmicky, who pretty much knows the playbook, right? John Brown has been a Buffalo Bill before. I can't imagine that the offense has changed too terribly much in the last couple of years.
How good do you think the Bills are going to be next year when they sign Kareem Hunt?
Is that what you think is happening?
Oh, 100%.
That's a brilliant move.
What's the one legitimate contender that just kind of needs a really good running back?
Yeah, sure. I think Josh Jacobs would be a really good answer as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, he doesn't have to.
They're going to have
come
options.
back to Las Vegas.
They're going to have options.
Yeah, he's a free agent next year, so
they're going to sign somebody because that's the one thing that's missing too. Like they keep bringing in these receivers, and Josh Allen's great, and I think he can make his receivers better. Gabe Davis has had his moments, but he really isn't a good number 2 because he's very boom or bust. But it's just interesting that the Bills they're bringing in all these guys. The Beasley one makes sense because, like you guys said, it's a guy that hey Cole, here's your old jersey, here's your old locker, here's your old, you know what I mean? Like he knows that building inside and out. He knows.
Here's your COVID protocol, all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, we're not doing that anymore, Cole. So come on back in, and he loves it. My favorite thing from this season was the week where the huge shitstorm that Brady was getting divorced. Cole Beasley was like, "I'm gonna retire and spend time with my family. If she's gonna divorce, I'm fucked." And that's still one of my favorite things that's happened that no one's talking about all season.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Mark with another question here, asking if you could put the lack of offensive production on Ken Dorsey.
Fair question.
Well, I mean, he broke his Surface week 3. He doesn't even have a tablet anymore.
Hasn't had a tablet in 2/3 of the season.
Guy's been using a Boost mobile phone for the last fucking 10 weeks. Hey, Josh, yeah.
Oh, dude, those things were the shit.
I don't necessarily think that he's the root cause of lack of offensive production, right? I think a lot of I think there's a lot of it gets kind of stale for Buffalo in the second half. We watched it a lot this year where they try to slow it down.
You could draw that to Ken Dorsey, right? You could draw that staleness.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can. But I think that there's also been times where Josh Allen also hasn't made good decisions, right?
I agree.
And I think that's a part of it too. I don't think you can put lack of production solely on the offensive coordinator. He might be calling the plays, but he's not taking the snaps.
I agree. And that's kind of where I was going with that, Todd, is it's never just one thing with a whole unit, right?
Yeah. And I think too, where, we're talking about, Kareem Hunt in a Bills jersey or Josh Jacobs in a Bills jersey. I don't know if Devin Singletary has ever necessarily gotten the fair shake to see if he has the stuff to be a true number 1 running back. And I'm not, here's the thing, fellas, I'm not comparing Kareem Hunt and Devin Singletary, right? I don't want to make that parallel here, but I think there's been I've seen it, I've read it. There's a lot of Bills fans that question why he hasn't gotten the full snaps. And then I watch games where I see him have these great drives where he's the focal point of the drive. And then I watch him on the next series do absolutely nothing with the ball in his hands. And I think that's where, that's where the issues with Buffalo rise, is that I don't know. There just seems to be some inconsistencies when they get into, again, I'm saying in the second half of a game, right? Because I've watched them almost every single week in the first half come out and play with their dicks on fire and score 21 points in the first quarter. You're like,
that's
oh shit, this
chlamydia.
game's already over. Yeah. Well, it's the clap. But I don't know. I think a lot of it is just I think players get complacent when you get the big lead, and all it takes is one small momentum shift to be up 14 and then up 3 in 5 or 6 minutes.
So, hold on, Mark.
Go ahead.
Mark saying Bill's the only team to rush 100 a game this year. That's Josh Allen.
Well, that's literally what I was just going to say. Is the reason I said Hunt over Singletary or even Jacobs is because Hunt is the best receiving back of those, and he's also a hard-nosed runner. Yeah. And their best running back is Josh Allen. Can you imagine a fucking read option from the 2-yard line with Allen and Hunt? Like, either of them are just going to fall forward. But the reason I said Hunt was because he's just a really good receiving back as well. That's what the Bills need, is somebody who can run between the tackles, but is also a threat in the passing game, because that's what the Bills are always going to fall back on.
Yeah, I think it's hard you can't necessarily say a team runs for 100 yards a game when you have a mobile quarterback, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not.
So do the Bears. The Bears are 3-10, right? So do the Ravens. You just can't put that parallel in here. I think that what we're talking about is a true running game, not a quarterback getting out of the pocket or a run-specific dedicated play to Josh Allen, like on a naked bootleg, whatever you want to call it, where he kind of does that quarterback bootleg where he tries to get to the sideline. But
I would love to see where they rank if you pull quarterbacks out of it. And that means the Eagles, that means the Bears, that means all of them. Take every quarterback running out of it.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would bet Cleveland's probably number one. If not, they're close.
Probably up there. Yeah,
they are. I think they're the best. Yeah, best rushing attack.
Tennessee is up there too.
Kind of fallen off over the last few weeks for sure. We'll get to them obviously, but
and Jason, that's the point we're making here. Allen's got the most rushing yards on the whole team. Exactly.
Yeah. He is their rushing attack.
Yeah, it would be nice to see them develop a running game that didn't revolve around Josh Allen putting his body on the line every week.
There's a reason every 4 years running backs get cycled out, because you don't want to put your quarterback through that wear and tear.
Right. Monta Ellis scored 35 points a game for the Warriors, and they were dead last in the West during that time. Doesn't matter if you could put where the volume comes in. That's my parallel here. Is that
did you fucking stretch before that reach, dude? That was fantastic. Holy shit!
You didn't see him put that hat on the coat rack back there?
That just goes right out of the pocket, buddy. I got Monta Ellis stats just sitting in here, stuffed full in these pockets.
All right,
do you just lose your car keys all the time because your like cranial capacity is just full of just random fucking shit like that?
Yeah, I forget birthdays and anniversaries, but I can tell you what Tony Gwynn's batting average was for like 6 or 7 years in a row.
Oh my god! All right, Todd, we still need your pick for the Steelers.
Fucking Rain Man,
and then we'll move on to the next game.
Yeah. I'll finish it up, fellas. I'm taking the Panthers here. I think Mr. Trubisky, Kenny Pickett or not, the Panthers are playing good football. They're playing for a purpose, right? I feel like the Steelers kind of lost their purpose. Losing to the Ravens last week, it certainly puts them out. So, I'm taking the Panthers.
I'm just laughing at the Hunt in Buffalo would be a huge threat. It's like, for who? People at casinos? Like, what are we talking about? No, I'm just kidding.
It's like a cryptic headline in a.
It's it's just my stupid fucking brain. That's all it is. It's nothing. Kareem Hunt hasn't done anything since to deserve that. I'm sorry, Kareem. Even though you went to fucking Toledo, you piece of shit.
Yeah, dude. Asshole.
Yeah.
And then Open enrollment school in Ohio. What a jerk.
What an ass.
Anybody could go to Toledo.
Literally.
Yeah.
Are we done shitting on Toledo? Can we move on?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'll let you know later.
I'll allow it.
Okay. All right. Next one. We shouldn't have to spend too much time on this. We can probably just do a quick around the horn here. We got the Chiefs on the road in Houston. I got the Chiefs.
I don't know. That's the Cowboys about that. No, I'm just kidding. Chiefs, yeah.
Chiefs.
No way I'm betting any other way.
Well, hold on. Let's talk more about the Bills. Then I'm just kidding. No, I got the Chiefs. I like literally after that whole last segment, I was like, "Oh, that's right. We were talking Steelers Panthers."
Jason says he's in Toledo. Look, here's the thing. We didn't say anything about the city.
You know who's actually the best player to come out of Toledo? I think he was 75. Was it north or was it south?
Yeah.
Hey!
Nice. Nicely done.
Well played.
Yeah, that was good.
Well played.
Yeah.
Touche.
All right.
Touche.
Let's move on to a game that's probably going to be one of the more interesting games, or at least one that's going to be could go either way. We got the Atlanta Falcons on the road, headed to New Orleans to take on the Saints. This is a coin flip game. This is a game which is going to depend on which team shows up. Aaron, who wants to
fucking go? Let's
Okay.
rip it.
Okay, fucking do it.
He's fucking back. He's fucking back. The Grinch is gone. Aaron's
What are you
fucking
guys
back.
talking about?
I'm just giving you. I'm just riding it at this point.
So Ritter's playing. Ritter's first career NFL game. Great for him. It'll be very, very interesting to see. I would have, and I'm sure fantasy football players would agree with this, I would have loved to see him with Pitts because that would have been exciting because Mariota just refused to get him the ball. It's his first NFL start here, guys. I can't roll with it. I just can't. I mean, it's a coin flip game, and so that's why I'm taking the Saints in this one. The Saints are at home. They're favored by more than the traditional 3. So even if this game is in Atlanta, Vegas is still favoring the Saints. I think the Falcons can absolutely win this game. I will not be surprised at all. This is one of those 55-44 or 55 to 45% games that you.
I was
you
like,
kind of
damn, over.
Wait, that 1% is the tie. You gotta leave the tie in play.
Yeah. So I didn't mess up. You guys are just idiots. No. So, anyways, here's the thing: you got it. Saints are 3-4 at home. Falcons are 1-5 away. There's not a lot to really go off of this one, other than the fact that I'm just gonna fade the guy in his first NFL career start because the NFL is just an entirely different speed. I like Ritter. I'm actually excited to watch this because I'm curious how he's gonna play. He's gonna struggle a little bit, guys. He is going to struggle a little bit. The Saints have some vets on that team. I'm going to take the Saints.
Cool. Corey.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch this game. I'm very excited to see, the third quarterback out of this draft class. We got a taste of Malik Willis handing the ball off 342 times against the Chiefs. And we've seen, Kenny Pickett get out there and struggle early and make some slight improvements over the season so far. But finally getting Desmond Ridder out there in a game that doesn't really matter a whole lot for the Falcons. So I think the pressure is a little bit off there. One thing, obviously, Saints are, the records, everything is saying to take the Saints here. Vegas is saying to take the Saints here. And I'm going to take the Falcons because there is something to be said about a quarterback that you don't have film on. We see it a lot. A new guy gets installed into the system and things just start happening for them because they don't really know how to prepare. They don't know how that's going to change the offense. And that's what I'm betting on this week. It very well could be the Saints. And it probably, everything, says that you should take them, but I'm going to take my underdog bet here and go with the Falcons simply because it's something new. He's coming off a bye week as well with a full week to prepare.
That's fair.
So that's something to me. I also, coming into this season, I've said this a few times, I think out of those 3 quarterbacks, Desmond Ridder is going to be the best one. I think he just has all 3 types of passes, whether it's the check down, the layered pass, or the deep ball. He has all of them. And I think that he has more tools than the other 2 guys. And I think it's going to help this offense that they still have weapons available to them. They have guys that can move down the field. And I think that we'll see that. And I'm going to roll with the Falcons on Sunday.
Todd.
Yeah, Corey, I think you bring up an interesting point just about kind of Desmond Ritter's roots. And you guys have to remember for 3 years, he had to throw against Kobe Bryant, who won the award last year for best defensive back in college football, and Sauce Gardner, the guy that we just talked about.
You're talking about in practice, right?
Yeah, who is becoming, a top 5 defensive back and creeping into a top 3 position by the end of this year or into next year. And I think there's something to be said about getting reps against. I mean, those are NFL ready guys, right? Kobe Bryant is playing. He starts for the Seahawks now, right? Sauce Gardner is starting for a Jets defense that we're talking about being one of the best defenses and him being the centerfold of it. So I think there is something to be said about who you compete against over time and what makes you better. And I think it kind of parallels into Corey's point where it's made him better at the different levels of the field because he's had to throw against, two of the best defensive backs in college football last year and had to do it time and time again in practice. And, I think it'll be interesting to see what Desmond could do at NFL speed, right? Because we could talk about all we want about what he did in college, and having time to prepare. But I'm taking the Falcons too. I just there's something in my bones that tells me that Desmond Ritter's going to come out and he's gonna run for a ton of yards too. I think that's the big thing is that this run game gets better because they have a quarterback and obviously Mariota's a mobile threat, but Ritter has the better next level speed. And I think that's what's going to help Atlanta in this game.
He's fucking huge too, by the way. He's a tall human being. Tall drink of water. But I mean, he's probably, all that practice against those guys in college, he's probably just fucking shredding the scout team for the Falcons because that secondary is bad.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I look like Johnny Unitas out there.
I don't know what the over-under is here, but
I'm glad you asked that because that was the one point I wanted to make. It's 43 even. Saints -4. Both of these teams are coming off of a bye. So you want any angle on this game, I'm going to take the over.
I agree on that.
I think you have a naturally deflated line because you have a rookie making his first NFL start against Andy Dalton. I think the over is going to hit, and I think it's going to cash on this game. That's my bet.
Yeah, we've got some disparity in the chat. We got Carp taking the Falcons. We got Jason saying that he's got the Falcons as well, and Mark's got the Saints by 10.
Jaws.
What was the line on that?
43 even.
No, -4. Saints minus.
Oh, the line. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Mark's making my move and giving some more points. I mean,
nobody's making you.
Ouch. All right.
That's just my piece of advice to anyone out there. Just let Vegas do it.
So I point taken, Aaron. I like what both sides had to say, but this year I've been taking some mental notes on Aaron's picks, and anytime he's up in the air, it says it could go the other way. It typically does. Usually he fades it. Usually he, with his pitch that he gave for the Saints means he would have taken the Falcons, but he did not. So I'm going to ride the Falcons train here. I like Desmond Ritter. I think we're actually going to see Kyle Pitts do something.
Pitts is dead, dude.
No, he's out for the season, bro.
He's not dead.
But, taking the Falcons.
I mean, in terms of 2022 football, yeah.
Sure.
God damn it.
I think you meant Ritter, but either way, I got you. That's a very interesting observation because there are so many times, like during the week. Now, anytime you say anything's going to be 55 to 45%, the 45 is going to hit a lot. And you're going to feel like an asshole, but yeah, it's probably not wrong.
For how thoughtful you are 98% of the time, you're probably not wrong. You're in a different element right now.
I love it. I love it.
You just gave us one of the most in-depth analysis, less than 20 minutes ago, and then you come back with that. So it's just, I love it.
Not wrong.
Not wrong.
I don't know. I haven't noticed Bobby, it, but it sounds right.
Yeah, well, exactly. What is he supposed to say to that? I mean, you're breaking it down perfect for him.
Like, hey, every time you've been like, I'm on the fence. Well, the fence has fucked you.
See, that's
I'm going with the fence.
What you should have said. That's what I wanted you to say the first time. Yeah.
There he is. We got it. We got there.
Right.
He's back in.
All right. Well, let's move on to a game where there's a team that everybody loves to hate. We got the Dallas Cowboys. Headed on the road to Jacksonville, coming off a pretty dominant divisional win last week.
Team people love to love.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Todd, lead us off on this one. Cowboys on the road versus the Jags.
Yeah, I think I think what we saw happen to Dallas last week, and again, I'm not rooting for America's team here. I think that was a little fluky. That was a looking forward game for Dallas, and then they kind of had to hit the oh shit button to dig their way out of the tunnel. I don't think we see that again from Dallas this week, but I just want to make a point that I don't think Mike McCarthy is a good head coach, which is why I don't think the Cowboys will make it very far in the playoffs. I'm picking the Cowboys, but I want to make sure I make it clear so all four of you can hear that anyone that's watching now or listening in the future, Mike McCarthy's a bad head coach. That's my opinion.
So I don't want to take credit from this. This is from Pardon My Take. And they had said, just imagine it's late January. You're at the link. It's about 20 degrees outside. And you just see Mike McCarthy's fat face looking confused as fuck as he's getting spanked by the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs.
It's so true.
It's so true. It's so true.
He's such a bad coach. And
he's not. Hold on. Let me just pump it. He's not Matt Patricia. All right.
No.
All right. This guy's. Am I wrong? Didn't he win a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he did.
He won a Super Bowl. So there's that. Let me just put that out there. It's
Aaron Rodgers hasn't won one since, too. So you can't even say it's Rodgers.
Oh, my God.
I'm just saying. He's won a Super Bowl. You have to give him some credit.
I'm with you. He's bad, but he's not the worst.
He's not. Yeah, he's not like AIDS. The worst. That's pretty bad.
Look, I'm not putting any terminal illnesses on his name. I'm just saying I think he's a bad coach. I'm allowed to have that opinion. Yes. A lot of bad coaches have won Super Bowls. I just want to point that out there. There's been bad coaches that have rings. And every once in a while.
Yeah, we do let Bobby talk about Pete Carroll every week.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point. I mean, he had a generational quarterback like Russell Wilson.
So. I know, right? Like, you basically
from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Born and raised.
Who's also threw 4 interceptions and a game-winning touchdown in the same game. I learned so much from your quip. It was beautiful.
So you're taking the Cowboys.
I'm taking the Cowboys that are led very poorly by Mike McCarthy, yes.
Okay. Aaron.
Yeah, I think Todd made a good point about and here's the thing, I don't even know how much it was looking forward as it wasn't just looking down at the actual competition, because it'd be one thing if they were playing like the Chiefs this week or the Bengals or 49ers or a team that you actually should look ahead to. They're playing the Jaguars. Both of these teams should be, these should be wins for the Cowboys, at least in terms of where they are. The one thing I was very, very surprised at was the defense. Houston has one of the worst offenses I've seen ever. In that first game back for Deshaun, I kept telling you guys, I said, if we're playing any other team in the league right now, this is a fat L, because there's no business we have being in this game. We got bailed out by our defense and our special teams. And I'm looking at a team like the Cowboys that I consider to be the second best defense in the league, maybe behind the 49ers, and then the Browns defense, who I consider like the worst defense. So just by all of that, I thought it was going to be just an absolute steamrolling in that game. And I even remember watching that Browns-Texans game going, boy, I can't wait to see what the Cowboys defense does to this offense. And then it was just nothing similar. That being said, I think they kind of revert back to how they've been playing all year. I think that defense shows up again, creates some pressure, gets some turnovers, maybe even put some points up on the board. Trevor Lawrence loves to turn the ball over when you pressure him, or at least what he was tied last year as the number one in interceptions with Stafford. And, he has a tendency to throw the ball to the other team because he's aggressive. And, sometimes that pays off, and it has paid off for the Jaguars, at certain points in time. I made the comment last week about give Trevor Lawrence a Diggs or a Hill or something like that, and then let's grade him. So I'm going to take the Cowboys in this game. I think they're the better team. But like you guys said, you love to hate them. But we're playing for pride here amongst the four of us, and I'll take the Cowboys.
Corey.
Yeah, I'm taking the Cowboys here. I think we saw a little bit out of Trevor Lawrence last week. Obviously, they went into Tennessee and dropped 36 on the Titans in Nashville. I don't want to shrug that off. I think that is progression. But all in all, I don't think that they're a unit that's going to go in and take care of business against the Cowboys here. Bounce back week for the Cowboys. They got scared and got a little embarrassed there. And I think they unleash it here. I think what the Jaguars did last week against the Titans, we try and use this transitive property all the time when trying to pick these games, because it's pretty much all we have to go on is what did they do last week? How are they looking as a unit? I think what happened last week for the Jaguars says more about the Titans than it does about the Jaguars. And we'll talk about the Titans here a little bit later. And I honestly, I don't see the Cowboys losing this game. If they do, that's fucking hilarious. But there's just no chance I'm picking against them here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Aaron said it the best. They looked down at Houston last week and got caught with their pants down. They're not going to let the same thing happen 2 weeks in a row. I've got the Cowboys here pretty handily. I'm not giving them 21 points, but I think the Cowboys win this one.
So what are you giving me?
I'm not giving you anything for this. Not for this,
bro.
Spread
not
Vegas.
Might you recommend 4?
I say Vegas is giving me 4. So, but
Vegas is
pretty
giving you
handedly is not a 4-point win, Bob. What are they going to win?
It'd
By?
be 5 because then you got a full hand.
What do you?
I would say, I'm not saying this. I'm just saying a handily win is double digits.
So you're giving me 9.5.
Am I really doing it? Yes.
Double or nothing.
I'll
Double
give you
or
9.5.
nothing.
Double
Give
down.
me Jags.
I will
Nah,
double
I'm not-
down. I'll give you 9.5 points.
Not taking it. Nope.
What?
Yeah, I don't want it. I don't
It was
want
your
it. I'm thinking-
idea.
I know. I'm just thinking about it. I was just clarifying. Well, wasn't making an.
All
I
right,
just want to
double-
see if I could make you do it.
What
Yeah,
just happened?
I'll give you
I
10
don't
and a
know.
half.
It's just mind.
Now you're
flare.
driving it up.
I'll
You
give
give
you
me-
10. I'll give you 10 and a half.
Tell him no again and get 14.
Yeah,
No.
I
Did,
think
did,
Ten-
did
ten- 10 and a
Corey
half
Soul
as high
leave
as I
his
go.
body and Chris Angel mind freak enter in here? What is going on?
I don't
What's-
think I can do that.
What's the,
I don't
what's
think
the games he's
All right,
playing.
the offer doesn't exist anymore.
I
This is
appreciate that. No,
Yeah,
that's
offer's
totally
not there.
okay. But if you wanted to give me
Wow.
13 and a half, I'd probably take it.
No, it's 11 and a half or 10 and a half. Take it or leave it.
Smells very soft in here.
All right, let's move on. We'll find something to gamble on later.
Yeah.
We've got the Cardinals headed to Denver to take on the Broncos.
This
Now-
is the Rally Towel Barf Bowl. Let's go.
This is obviously Kyler
Game
Murray
of the
went
week,
down-
baby.
Kyler Murray went down with a big injury last week. Towards
Dude.
ACL, he's done for the
Dude,
year.
sucks. That sucks.
They just got to get rid of turf. Turf has to go. Whether
that
or
was
not
on
you like-
grass.
was it?
Yeah, that's it. That was in Phoenix, right?
Yeah, Phoenix has natural grass.
Yeah,
That's
that's
natural
true.
grass.
That's don't they pulled like the
So-
Like the
they pulled it out.
locomotive.
Take it
trail,
the
yeah.
next level.
And
They
then
need
they-
stationary grass across all NFL fields. Only stationary grass cannot
And
be.
Russell
cannot be
Wilson
mobile.
also went out last week with a concussion. And Russell Wilson actually,
He looks fucked up, dude.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
on a different planet. He's already on a different planet. Normally, but he was definitely.
Did you see the quote from Travis Kelce about his interaction with Russell Wilson? By the way, this might be
No.
the funniest fucking thing I've ever read. And I'm gonna butcher
Please
it, but
don't.
just giving a kind of a synopsis here. Basically, it's like I was talking to Russell Wilson, and it was just a very weird interaction. It was almost like he was constantly trying to match whatever way I was talking in order to try and compute in his brain that the way that he needed to converse with me. And he had asked him a question. He said, "Do you think people that watch Harry Potter are going to hell?" Or something to that extent. And Travis was just like, "I don't know." It's like, "Have you ever watched Harry Potter?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'll pray for you, man." And just fucking peaced out. And
When
went
was
and,
this?
this was when they
La-
played
It was
each
last
other.
week.
They like a pregame meetup.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Just fucking weird, man. Just a weird dude. I'm not, when I'm saying a weird dude, I'm not telling anyone anything they don't already fucking know. They've seen Russell Wilson try and be a human over the last whatever. But yeah, just bizarre. Just bizarre.
Interesting. All right. Well, we got the Cardinals Broncos. Corey, I'll let you lead it off. Who you got?
Sorry about that. Sorry. Cardinals, Broncos. This is just abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. But I have a
Barf
strict.
Bowl.
It's the Barf Bowl. I have a strict rule here, ladies and gentlemen. You don't bet on the Redbird after you cut the bird. The Cardinals offense is already going to be down a notch. I think Colt McCoy is who they're trotting out there.
It might be Carson Strong.
Even worse. I know, Aaron, what you're saying with like the show, but we've seen Colt McCoy this year, and it hasn't been great. It's not been terrible, but it hasn't been great. Broncos defense is still good, right? Still good. So I'm going to go with the Broncos here. I'm going to go with the defense. I'm going to go with Vegas, and I'm going to say, let's ride.
Aaron.
Fuck.
Gun to your head? Gun to your head.
Okay. So I don't think is it probably more likely than not that Wilson doesn't play?
Like, I mean, what are they playing for? There's already eliminated from the playoffs, right? This is your franchise that we're talking about here. Literally, financially, your franchise.
Similarly to the way that I was talking about the Panthers earlier, I almost feel like Wilson not playing is going to be better for the Broncos. So while I know I have made the comment of I'm not going to fucking pick this. Really what I meant was Wilson. I know Kyler isn't playing. I know that. I know that for a fact. I don't know whether Wilson's going to play. I'm going to bet on the fact that he doesn't play and that the Broncos defense shows up like they have all year. The funniest thing about this game, oh boy, what is it? A over-under of 36.
Holy shirts and pants.
Fucking high school game where they don't know how to throw. You know, it's like that's what we're looking at here. I'm gonna take the Broncos, and if I need to move the camera to both sides to prove to you guys that there isn't a live gun to my head right now, I will, because I know I've made that comment. I'm gonna take the Broncos here. Fuck.
That's odd.
Yeah.
Sure. Fuck. It feels bad. It feels bad to say that, but I'm taking the Broncos too. I'm taking defense over offense in this game, especially in Mile High. I think that's kind of the integral final piece of the puzzle for me is that you're catching Denver at home. I don't think it really matters who moves the ball better. I think it just matters that Denver can create turnovers, and they have a kicker that can make field goals, and Brandon McManus. And I think that we see nothing but field goals in this game. So I'm taking the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that I will not be watching.
No, I'm watching it, dude. No, Aaron, I want to watch this and I want to have a similar reaction to that Broncos Colts game.
Yeah, if I was with you, I'd watch this whole game on the big screen.
Oh God, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be. I'm so excited.
I'm not a masochist.
Don't you guys enjoy satire? That's what we're getting. We're getting NFL.
I'm gonna
satire.
have to make this a drinking game. That's the only way I'll get through it.
Absolutely.
So if whatever you figure out what the deal is, let me know, and I might change my mind. But yeah, I'm taking the Broncos here. I just the Broncos defense is that's the only positive thing for each of these teams. Yeah, we're all taking the Broncos.
Arizona's going to win.
Yeah, right. Who is backing up Russell Wilson, by the way?
Ripien,
whatever it is. Exactly. Who knows?
Yeah. So the only positive thing in this game is the Broncos defense. Other than that, there's not a whole lot going on for anybody.
I'm telling you, the downgrade between Wilson and a backup, I don't think is going to.
Not that drastic.
No. If anything, I think it might be better.
All right. Well,
the team will believe.
Maybe they're doing high knees at the cafeteria table in between film.
In his honor, yeah.
But all right, let's move to the Patriots headed to Vegas to take on the Raiders. Who hasn't led off in a while? Aaron, lead us off.
It's another tough one.
It is.
Patriots have something to play for. The Raiders don't really, but I think they've kind of, oddly enough, shown a little bit of heart in the last couple of weeks. I know they lost to the Rams, but before that, they were coming in with a 3-game win streak, and that was just a weird Thursday night game. Patriots have just kind of been a weird team all year. Fuck. I'm gonna take the Raiders here. I think they have better skill position guys. I don't really like Mac Jones a lot, and I'll take the Raiders at home.
Sure, Corey.
Yeah, in the interest of assisting my favorite team, I'm gonna in a pick 'em. I'm gonna pick the Raiders as well. There's not really a whole lot that separates these teams on paper. Neither of them have really given me a lot to root for here. But I'm gonna take the home team in a 1-point spread, and I'm gonna go with the Raiders.
Todd.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the team Matt Patricia is not calling plays for.
Yeah,
Seriously, that's my logic.
Fair point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have watched Mac Jones the last 2 weeks like unravel with the play calling that's been happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is very clear that he is visibly frustrated with the way that things are operating in New England with Matt Patricia calling the plays. And I mean, there's something to be said about that, right? Like if you're a quarterback on a team that you don't believe in, then what the fuck are you doing on the field? Like Mac Jones isn't out there, nothing is playing into his strengths. That's the way that I see it, right? When I watched New England on Monday night, it's like everything that they do is just very I don't like it. I'm taking the Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna hop on the bandwagon at this point because I don't believe in either team. So I'm certainly not gonna fade one of them when you guys are all on the other side. So if we're gonna lose, we're all gonna lose together. So I'm gonna take the Raiders in this one.
Let's do it.
I don't know, Bobby. I was on the fence there. You sure you don't want to?
No, you didn't give us the percentage breakdown. So no. All right, let's move on to a game that I think is going to be a little bit more interesting. We've got the Tennessee Titans headed to the West Coast to take on the Chargers. Todd, lead us off on this one. Who you got? Another flip of the coin.
I'm taking the Chargers, guys. I think that what my decision making in this is that you have the first time all year. Last week was the first time all year. You had Justin Herbert had everyone, right?
He looked great.
You have Keenan Allen. You have Austin Eckler. Everybody's on the field. He had all of his weapons. He distributed the ball well, above average, right? I think that obviously he still showed. Sometimes I think he has issues getting the ball out. He likes to sit in the pocket for a while. And I think that kind of doesn't always play to his benefit, but he's a big play guy. So I think that's a big part of it for him too, is that he's someone that, has you like that. See how I did that so fast. I think he's just a guy that he's still looking for the big play. But I mean, after watching Tennessee with Jacksonville last week, I have to take LA at home. You're traveling from coast to coast. I mean, there's factors into it, but I'm taking quarterback play. I'm taking Herbert over Tannehill. Yeah,
I mean, when I say Justin Herbert looked great last week, I mean in comparison to the entire season that we've seen him play. In comparison, he looked much more crisp. He looked a lot more confident out there. And the Titans, I think the Titans are a joke. They haven't really been a serious contender all season. They've been continued to try to ride Derrick Henry, and I think that there's no more. Not that there's not any gas left in the tank for Derrick Henry, but that man can't be your only option on offense. He can't be your only consistent source of production. And teams have figured it out. If you can stop Derrick Henry, you can stop the Titans. You put your team in a great opportunity to win that game as long as you can execute on the offensive side of the ball. And after seeing what Herbert did last week, I think that confidence rolls into this week, and I think the Chargers take this one. Corey.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with the Titans on offense is that they don't have A.J. Brown. I think that Treylon Burks is great, and I think he's having a great rookie year, but he's not A.J. Brown. He's just not. And so, kind of to your point there, Bobby, if you can shut down Derrick Henry, which teams have been doing over the last few weeks, and it just really limits that offense. The other thing, the Titans' pass defense is bad, guys. Like they're statistically one of the best rush defenses in football. They are one of the worst pass defenses in football. I think that's what we saw a little bit of Trevor Lawrence last week. Has Trevor Lawrence arrived? I was like, well, maybe, but also the Titans' defense on the pass is fucking horrendous. And you got a fully healthy wide receiver core for Justin Herbert. I think they lay it on him here, and I like the Chargers in this one.
Trevor Lawrence didn't go up against Alabama last week too, so sorry. I thought that joke would land a little harder. That was a bad one. Aaron,
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game of two teams that have just not shown up week to week. Like, I have seen the Chargers look like a really, really good team. I've seen them look like a team that isn't going to make the playoffs. And same thing with the Titans. Now, the Titans are sitting atop of a pretty bad division right now with a fairly comfortable lead that even if they lose this game, they're still sitting in the driver's seat. I think what I saw to the Chargers last week was very, very impressive, especially on the defensive side of the ball. What they were able to do to Tua in that offense was very impressive. I don't think that's as easy to do against Derrick Henry, although the idea can be the same of, all right, we're going to take this away from you. Now beat us in a different way. I think Derrick Henry can march forward 3 yards of play. And if the Titans want to play that way, I think that they can win. I'm going to take the Titans solely on the fact that I haven't seen either team give me anything consistent last week. So I saw the Titans look like shit last week. I saw the Chargers look really good. I think it's going to flip because that's what both of them have done all year.
Wow. Okay. So Aaron is lone wolf.
So let me pose a question to you guys here. So here's the Chargers' schedule for the last 4 weeks of the season. So obviously at home against the Titans, on the road in Indianapolis against the Colts, at home, whatever you want to call it, against the Rams. They're in LA against the Rams, but they are the home team. And then on the road in Denver. So you're talking about one team with an above 500 record for the last 4 weeks of the season, and a team that is sitting right there smack dab on the tail end of the wild card bubble. Do they make it in?
I don't think it's up to them entirely. I think they're gonna need some other teams to take some losses as well. Sure. I think, if I'm not mistaken, are they the 7 right now, or are they on the outside looking in? I think they might be.
They're in right now. I think they're tiebreaker over the Jets.
So they're 7. The Jets are 8. Same record. Tiebreaker goes to the Chargers based on the AFC record.
I don't see them running the table on the way out, just because, like Aaron was saying, they're not consistent enough to say that. They should probably be favored in every single one of those matchups. But whether or not that will result in W's is yet to be determined. So I don't know. I would say yes, because I think the AFC East is going to cannibalize themselves, and that's going to open up opportunities for a team like the Chargers to get in.
Yeah, I mean, if any team's got a good chance of running the table, it is the Chargers. But it's all going to depend on what they do this week. Can they come out and prove that they can once again, have a solid performance? This week's going to tell me whether or not they're going to run the table. If they can come out and get a pretty convincing win this week, against this Titans defense, or just the Titans in general, which I think they're frauds. That's going to tell me, whether or not they're going to run the table. John coming in with some hot news here. 2 Bills have been arrested for the murder of Mike White.
It's ridiculous.
There's been a murder in Savannah. So Aaron, I think.
Oh, go ahead, Todd.
So I just want to make this point really quick, because the reason I bring it up is we've talked about Brandon Staley being on the hot seat of not having a job next year, and now we're having the conversation of they're on the border of making the playoffs. And that's kind of been the MO for the Chargers specifically, is well, they don't make it in the playoffs. They don't win when it matters. Obviously I think we talked pretty handedly about they handed the Steelers that last playoff spot last year, right? I mean, they gave them the gift of a playoff spot. Also, so did the Colts, for what it's worth. But
sure,
I think the interesting thing here is that even if the Chargers make the playoffs, which right now my opinion on that is here's my hot take for you fellas, and I'm gonna stick this one in my back pocket, is I think the Dolphins don't make it in the playoffs, and I think the Jets and the Chargers do.
That's it. Yeah, and I'm not far off on that either. I think that the Jets, or excuse me, the Dolphins, we've already talked about this. Their final stretch coming down to the end of the season is not easy. They are going They're going to from the defensive side of the ball, not necessarily a complete team side, but they're going against some formidable defenses there. And Caleb Crawdaddy with a great point there. I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Dolphins are able to do. Did nobody get that Office reference? You're coming in here saying there's a murder in Savannah, and I'm calling you Caleb Crawdad.
I heard it. Relax.
All right.
Relax. Take a breath. That mustache has changed you too. You and Aaron both have changed.
I in honor of Justin Herbert, I've got Justin Herbert hair going on here now.
You do.
Got the mustache. I'm a new guy, new persona.
Yeah, Todd, I think what's happened is the holidays have just made you very sensitive.
a lot of claymation films and just warm feelings.
Here's the thing, fellas. Is
Todd hasn't seen the sun in a month.
my TikTok feed has turned into military welcome home videos, father-son moments. It has been a nightmare for me the last 4 or 5 days on TikTok.
The A1 there is the military person who comes home and it's like the dog seeing them for the first time.
Oh, dude,
and you're like,
throw it all in.
The kids, whatever, right? Because they're
do the waterworks.
Dude.
Because in 20 minutes after Dad's come home, they're gonna be like, "Can we watch Paw Patrol?"
Yeah.
The dog is just unconditional love.
It's true.
It's fair.
It's true.
Yeah.
Moral of the story is, you're right. Maybe I am a little sensitive. Maybe I am.
Okay.
Maybe I'm in my emotions. But I'm talking with logic here, fellas, when we're talking about the Chargers. I'm talking about a team that 2 weeks ago we were talking about, and I think we all mutually agreed were frauds. And now it's the point of how interesting and unique the NFL is that a team can go from where my personal opinion, I had written them off 3 or 4 weeks ago, that I'm talking about them squeaking into the playoffs, and it's just the thing about football that makes it so fun.
I think the reason why is kind of just because of what we talked about, is who they got in the last 4 versus who they're competing against have in the last 4, and obviously they've put themselves in this position. But we went into the season thinking that the AFC West was going to be a gauntlet, and it just hasn't really been that. The Raiders haven't been that. The Broncos obviously haven't been that. So let me be very clear. Yeah, the Chargers might get into the playoffs, but there's not a team that's going to win their division that is not saying, like, please let me get the Chargers in the first round. Absolutely.
Right. Sure.
So.
I just think it's interesting. It's football's funny that way.
Yeah. No.
Football is fun.
FUN, baby. All right. Well, let's get on to something that might be a little bit more of an emotional pick for you guys. I'm just kidding. We got the Bengals traveling down to Tampa to take on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. I mean, I think for anybody who watches or has watched the NFL this season knows that this shouldn't be too terribly difficult of a pick 'em. The Bengals look good. Tom Brady just looks like a pissed off little kid who's not getting his way, and Bengals defense just too good. Tom Brady's gonna have another frustrating week out there on the field. Taking the Bengals here. Aaron.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Bengals here because Bucks look like crap, man. I don't know another way to put it. I mean, it's basically two teams. You got one going up, one going way down. I'm gonna take the team on the escalator going upwards. That's really all the analysis I'm gonna bring here with two Bengals fans. I'll let them kind of touch on this, but yeah, I got the Bengals.
Yeah, absolutely, Todd.
Yeah, so I think obviously we've talked about kind of the decline of Tom Brady in this season, and kind of trying to get him out of and right off into the sunset and kind of finish off his career here. And I think the big thing for me when I watched Tampa Bay over the last couple of weeks, specifically from the Browns moving forward, is that defense, specifically that secondary, is rough. Have a very hard time keeping the ball out of the air, keeping teams from moving forward downfield with limited problems. I think we've watched. Bobby, thanks for liking the stream. I think the big thing for me is that obviously Joe Burrow has been outside of the first half last week against the Browns, He's been moving the ball very well over the air. The Bengals seem to have found the cohesion on the offensive line and being able to move the ball on the ground. They're firing on all cylinders on offense right now, even without really, obviously T. Higgins played, I believe, 2 plays.
Ooh, gross injury, by the way.
No, that's Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd.
That's right. Tyler Boyd. Sorry.
With the
pinky dislocation.
Yeah, first play of the game, I believe, is when he dislocated his pinky, required immediate surgery.
Did they say it was like bone sticking out and shit?
So it was a precautionary surgery, but yeah, there was I guess that, but there was no break of the bone, which is fantastic news. Actually, both T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd were limited in practice today.
Yeah, so I think my point being that you watch Joe Burrow move the ball effectively in the second half once he had to make the necessary adjustments to realize that he didn't have 2 of his top 3 weapons on the field. I think that's the important thing I'm getting at here is the Tampa Bay's secondary doesn't – I still don't think matches up well against Joe Burrow, what he's able to do with the football. On the other side of the ball, DJ Reader with a 91.2 overall rating
insane, man.
Against the Browns last week. Obviously, we watched Nick Chubb have, I believe it was the second worst game of the season for him in total yards. And I think you're just going to see more of that. Obviously, with Trey Hendrickson going out with a broken wrist, that certainly impacts some of the pass rushing. But I'm excited to see. I don't know how you feel about this, Corey, but I'm excited to see Joseph Asai get a little bit more of a role on defense. And we've seen him come in and the limited plays and make some big plays, specifically in the pass rushing role. But yeah, I'm taking the Bengals here. I just think I think Tampa Bay is just the steep decline is too steep for them right now.
Chris, thanks for joining the show, man. Appreciate stopping through. Corey.
Yeah, the scary thing about the Bengals is while they are cohesive on offense, their offense hasn't been totally healthy for the last fucking 9 weeks. Whether it's Mixon or Chase, now Higgins and Boyd, their offense has been banged up. And what I'm really seeing right now is just a well-structured roster from Duke Tobin in that front office there, because they're deep. They have depth at multiple slots. Mixon goes out and Samaje Perine steps up and excels. Jamar Chase goes out, Higgins goes out, and then you got Trenton Taylor and Trent Irwin stepping up and filling that void. But I think the big thing that we saw last week is just Jamar Chase is just another fucking breed, man. This guy is just insane. It's not just speed either. It's just strength. Not bringing him down is just something that happens so frequently.
His route running was really impressive last week too.
Right. Also, there were a couple of times where I'm looking at the cushion that they're giving him, and it didn't make any sense because
Bobby and I said the same thing watching the game. Why do you give him so much space?
Yeah, well, you don't really have a choice often, because if you don't, he'll beat you deep. So unless you got that safety over the top or something like that, that help over the top. But that's really where this offense has started to excel out of necessity over the last 10 weeks or so, has really just been that intermediate passing game, and it really starts to open things up for play action, starts to open things up for the RPO. The offense just starts moving. But again, I don't think they've really reached the final form just yet of that offense. Tampa, on the other side, listen, this is a team that gave up over 30 points to Brock Purdy. I'm not saying that he's a bad quarterback or anything like that. Obviously, we know what Shanahan can do with his quarterbacks and get the most out of them. Aaron, has talked about that on the show plenty of times. And so, not a whole lot to take away from them there, but nonetheless, over 30 points to him in his first career start. It's not necessarily something that you want to hang your hat on here. And putting up, I think it was less than double digits, if I'm not mistaken, against a great defense, but the Bengals are a good defense too. I just think there's too many mismatches here, whether it's the total defensive unit or the effectiveness of the offense against the lack thereof for the defensive side of the ball for the Buccaneers. I don't know why the spread is so low. Perhaps it is the question marks that are looming with the Bengals wide receiver core and injuries. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson going down, that is a big deal. that is a big deal. Trey Hendrickson is having another really, really good season. But yeah, to your point earlier, Todd, I am interested to see Joseph Asai, the second-year player, first year goes down. Coincidentally enough, Joseph Asai tore his ACL in a preseason game against who, Todd? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I was going to say it was against the Buccaneers. That's right.
And he did sack Tom Brady in that preseason matchup. So it's just kind of ironic here that it looks like he's going to be getting his first start against the team that he did get injured against. So that would be just kind of a storyline to watch if I'm looking for one. But I take the Bengals to cover in this one.
All right. All right. So now moving on, the last two games on the slate this week, I think we're going to be split on, maybe. The Sunday night game, we've got the New York Football Giants going up against the Washington Commanders.
Can two teams tie each other twice?
This is I mean, it's funny that this is a huge game for implications in the NFC because you have both of these teams sitting at the 6 and 7 seed right now, and the reason that they're there is because of the tie. Whoever wins remains sitting there at that 6 seed. The other team is out. And then I believe it's depending on the Seahawks and the Lions game. Well, the Lions are a game and a half out, but the Seahawks win. They're now in that 7 seed.
Yeah.
I'll leave this one off since I don't do it too often. This is going to be a game where I think
picked the hardest game to lead off.
I did.
You sure did.
And I'm happy to do it, guys. I'm going to take one for the team here.
That's why I love you here, Rally Tell Sports.
I think this game is going to come down to running back play. I think this is going to come down to who can consistently move the ball on the ground, get first downs, and because defensively, I don't think it's going to be a strong showing for either team. So it's going to come down to which team can milk more of the clock, time management, and run the ball.
Did we just get a Squeaks appearance on Rally Tell Sports, Aaron?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, Squeaks the cat. What's up, Squeaks?
Where's he at? I missed him.
He's just squeaking around, man. He's just squeaking around.
Oh, I see him. Well, we got Arlo there in the back over there at Todd's house.
Arlo's, he's been a staple over the last few weeks. There's Squeaks.
What up, buddy?
It's a kitty.
All right,
Aaron's best friend.
Saquon Barkley has been great all season, but man, I love Brian Robinson, and I'm going to take the Commanders at home in this one. I think the Commanders. I think Taylor Hanke gets it done. I think the Giants have been down on a downward swing the last couple of weeks. I'm going to take the Commanders here at home to win this one in a very, 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 very tight game, if not a tie.
Is Taylor Heineke not playing then? Is it a new guy at quarterback?
Whatever, Heineke, Hanke, whatever it is. Get out of my face. I'm all flustered because I led this one off, and it was a tough one.
Yeah, I got you.
We're very proud of you, Bobby.
Yeah, let's give it up for Bobby.
Let's give it up for Bobby.
Hey, guys. All right, who wants to go next?
I'll go next.
Me.
Look at that.
Go ahead.
All the boys want to chime in now.
No, I'm taking the Commanders. I think they're just a more complete team. They're favored by 4, right? This is kind of to Aaron's point earlier. Falcons versus Saints. I already took my stretch and took the Falcons in that one. I'm not doing it here. I'm going with the Commanders to get it done here. And the Giants have continued to regress throughout the season, whereas the Commanders, while they've had bumps in the road, they've where they started the season versus where they're at now, and their level of play is just better. I'm going with the Commanders.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Commanders. I mean, you have the Giants who started 6-1, and then since then have gone 1-4-1, and that one win that they've gotten since starting 6-1 is against the Texans in a game that is 24-16. The Giants, we did not give them their just deserves to start the season. And then right when we started to kind of turn around on them, we're like, oh yeah, by the way, no, we are exactly who you thought we were. So
gotcha, bitch.
I'm gonna take the Commanders here. They're playing better football. The Giants are just kind of listless, and frankly, if they didn't have that amazingly hot start, we already be talking about how their season's already over. Hey, hats off. I think you got a coach. I really do. I think there's some good things going on in New York, both New Yorks, really, because it's kind of been a football wasteland for the last several years, really, since the Eli Manning days of for the Giants. And I kind of like what the Commanders are putting together a little bit, and they edge out. They edge out for me a little bit here.
Todd.
Yeah, I think the big thing here, fellas, is that the Commanders are coming off a bye week and the Giants are coming off of just a huge ass whooping, right? That's the big thing to me is that the Commanders are rested. They have, I believe, other than maybe Montez Sweat, I believe that defense is back, including Chase Young. I think a lot of us have been waiting. Yeah, I think a lot of us have been waiting for Chase Young to be the impact player that he was drafted at number 2, right? And he's going to get his chance because I believe the Commanders win and they keep themselves in wild card contention. And I think they figure out a way to stay in the playoffs. And I think they're the team that if I'm in the NFC and I got to play somebody in the first round, I kind of want to stay away from them in that wild card spot because they just seem to have a way to flip the script into their favor. And that defense is finally coming full circle of, holy shit, this is a really good defense, to other side of the ball where they were bottom 5, I believe, last year, to now they're back into the top 8 or 10 this year. And now you're getting your best asset back on top of that. So I like what the Commanders have done despite parity within the organization, right? I don't forget that their owner is a huge piece of shit, and that takes a lot away from what they're trying to do as an organization. And I believe that he's personally set them back a little bit. This is a step in the right direction. I'm interested to see how they finish out this stretch. But yeah, I'm taking the Commanders just based on I think that defense outplays Daniel Jones. Period.
I think the NFC is probably the most formed playoff race at this point. We're really looking at 2 slots, right? We've got Philly more than likely going to win that division. The Cowboys more than likely going to get the first wild card slot. Let's say, that crazy things happen and those 2 teams switch. Either way, we're really only looking at 2 slots here. That's 6 and that's 7. And when you look at those teams right now, there's really only 4 teams that we're considering when looking at those options. It's Seattle, Washington, New York, and Detroit. Beyond that, you're looking at Green Bay, who is 2.5 games out with 4 remaining. Just a tough hill to climb at this point. They're not eliminated, but it's a tough hill to climb. They're going to need some help, I think, outside of themselves. So we're really looking at 4 teams left in the NFC. It's going to be really interesting, obviously, with the Jets have something to play for. The Lions have something to play for. I know we've already talked about these games, but and then obviously the Commanders and the Giants, and then the Seahawks in an interesting matchup as well this week. It's just I think we're going to know a little bit more, or it could just continue to be muddy. If let's say Seahawks and Lions win, and then the result of this game, it's gonna be pretty interesting going down the stretch for sure.
What's funny too with these guys, you wrap up the season, right? The Commanders have to play the Niners, the Browns, and the Cowboys, right? So, but then you look at the Giants. The Giants have to play the Vikings, the Colts, and the Eagles, right? They're playing the Eagles in Week 18, likely when they've clinched.
Yeah.
So
they could both make it too.
They could. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is that this game could be a chalk game, right? When it's all said and done, because
they could tie again.
They could tie. I was gonna say, are you predicting a tie?
But I don't know. It's both teams have a tough schedule to wrap out the year, but obviously in that last week for both teams, players could be rested and they could win. So it's I don't know. I'll make a deal right now. If they tie again, the next podcast, I will not wear a shirt.
All right, deal.
Yep,
You don't have to
That's a very safe bet for me. That's a very safe bet for me.
Even
no
safer
skin
bet
in
for
the
us.
game. Yeah, no skin in the game.
All right, let's move on.
I'll show a little leg.
Corey already did that.
I wear really
true.
short shorts too, so that's only to the viewers' benefit.
Yeah,
What
and
are
if
you
you're
gonna
listening
What are
to
you
us
gonna do
on,
for our? I was say, what are you gonna do for our Spotify listeners?
yeah, I was gonna say, if you're
Fart in the
listening to
mic?
us on Spotify, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube as well for Rally Towel Sports TV.
Yeah. OnlyFans.
Rally Towel
That's what this
OnlyFans.
comes from. Yeah.
Or as
Oh,
we
okay.
call it in the
Maybe we
football
should call
world.
it Only Towels.
I was gonna say in the football world, one of my favorite fantasy football names is OnlyFans.
Nice.
That is a good one.
Classic.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the last and final game, the Monday night matchup between the Rams and the Packers.
Let's
the
see if
Rams
we
are
split.
on the road in Green Bay.
Well, going
This
into
is
these
going to be
last two
another
games,
two weeks in a row. We've had fantastic Monday night football games. Just some quality television that the NFL is putting out on Monday night. But Aaron, lead us off, man. You got.
Well, it's just funny because going into these last two games, we're like, I think we're gonna have some splits here. We all went Commanders. I think we're all going Packers. At least I am. I'm going Packers because here's the thing. Baker came in. He did his playground football shit that he does, right? And now they have 10 days in between from a Thursday. Packers coming off of the bye, and they're gonna be like, all right, Baker, come on into the building. Let's look at the playbook. And that's their first mistake. They should just do whatever the fuck they did on Thursday. And it's not going to – I'm going to take the Packers. I think what you saw was a moment, and I think I've seen the Rams for the entire season. They're playing, backups, third strings in a lot of positions throughout their entire roster. Again, it's a team full of veterans that don't have anything to play for, and that's really a recipe for disaster. And frankly, they kind of just got by on Thursday against another team that really doesn't have a lot to play for either. And again, not that the Packers do, but I think there's a little more pride on their side. And they're still not technically out of it.
Yeah.
Although I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I'm going to take the Packers here. I trust Aaron Rodgers more than I trust Baker Mayfield.
Corey.
So just kind of doing a little bit of the schedule game at this point, the Packers 7-point favorites against the Rams this week. Then they go to Miami to take on the Dolphins, who are kind of reeling, right? With quarterback play, offensive production is not what it was. Then they have the Vikings, who we are all sure are frauds. And then they play the Lions in the final week of the season. The Packers aren't eliminated. They're 2.5 games out at this point. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could. It could. I'm just saying it could. And it could start this week getting a little bit of the momentum rolling in the right direction. So all you need to give Aaron Rodgers is just a little bit of sliver there. But they haven't been good this season. So I'm not making that bet for them to be a wild card team.
Sure.
That being said, 7-point favorite right now at home. I'm going with the Packers.
Todd.
Yeah, I think I don't have a lot to add other than I really like that Christian Watson has seemed to start transitioning well into the NFL.
Great.
He's a big play guy, which I think is important to Aaron Rodgers, right? Because that's a necessity on a team.
Yeah.
It's a guy that could crack open a big play. And Christian Watson could be that guy. So I look to see Aaron feed him the ball more, especially again against a team that's really kind of hitting they've hit the practice squad over the last couple of weeks to play Sunday and Monday and Thursday nights. So I'm taking the Packers here.
Let's not forget here, like the Packers only lost by 7 to the Eagles. Just want to just throw that out there. Went in and did what they do and beat the Bears, obviously. And then they're coming off a bye. So there's a lot to take into effect. They've turned it up. I'm not saying they're turning it on, but they've turned it up a little bit. They've got the plug close to the outlet at least.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is when Baker is successful, it's when he's in that 2-minute drill and he's just running and gunning. That's the way Baker Mayfield plays football.
And that was fun to watch. I enjoyed that.
That last drive
great.
was beautiful. Every ball that he threw was right. He couldn't have put it in a better spot. He made the plays when they needed to be made, and That's why they won. That Thursday night game. So, hats off to him for, having 2 days with the team and, coming out there and leading a game-winning drive when he wasn't really expecting to get on the field. So, but that being
he's home now, apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently he's home.
I'm interested to see what he does with
Progressive thinks otherwise.
With actually having a good coach. I'm interested to see what McVay schemes for him this week. I think McVay is.
I don't know that that's a fair shot. I mean, Stefanski, while not being necessarily ultimate and great, they schemed it well for Baker a lot of the times at the beginning of his tenure with a lot of run heavy. I mean, Aaron, me and you have talked about this. The offense was set up for him to succeed at the start of Stefanski.
Yeah, and you saw Jacoby succeed in it. But to Bobby's defense, you also then have to talk about Hugh Jackson, Greg Williams, and Freddie Kitchens.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm just saying
on the record will say Sean McVay is better than them.
I'm gonna put my nuts on the line here, guys. I like Sean McVay better than Freddie Kitchens.
Wow.
And you know what? I'll take it a step further. Hugh Jackson.
Wow. Hot takes here, Rally Tell Sports.
I'd like to see you take it one more step, though.
Kevin Stefanski.
Greg
Williams.
Triple G.
But no, in all seriousness, obviously, Baker's got the talent to play at the NFL level. To what capacity? We obviously all agree that it's not going to be anything great. But I'm interested to see, what Sean McVay dials up for him this week, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And I'm certainly not going to fade the Packers at home when they still have a chance to make the playoffs. So, I'm taking the Packers here as well.
So we were all going to be split.
I thought about taking the Rams on a flyer, but
just to prove a point.
I can't do
it. Glad you didn't.
So, Aaron, I know we're going long here, but I'm just curious where, what is this year 3 for Stefanski? Obviously didn't get your quarterback for most of the season, though. You're giving him another year, I'd assume.
Yeah, you can't trade the farm for a quarterback, have him suspended for 11 games, and then take the first coach that's made the playoffs for you, and then go, sorry, bud.
Yeah.
I have said this countless times. I'm pretty sure
won a playoff game. I think that's important because Marvin Lewis.
Technically not, because he was in his basement because he had COVID. But yes. But
yes, that's right. They won. That's right.
Okay, but that's the funny thing too is everyone is like, I can't believe that the Browns got rid of Baker Mayfield because he finally won him a playoff game. And I'm like, did you watch that fucking game? We were up 21-0 in like 10 seconds. Like Baker had nothing to do with that. Yeah. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, you have to bring Stefanski back. What you don't have to do is bring the defensive coordinator back. And one of the things that Stefanski might be a little too proud in is his ego. And he's been a little bit too faithful and generous to Joe Woods, who has been just bad. I mean, you look at this season coming in and you go, all right, we're going to hang our hat on the defense this year because we don't have our quarterback. Maybe we go 500. Maybe we go a little bit less. When we get to Sean back, maybe we'll be right there. The offense finally starts clicking. No, the offense has been good all year for the most part. And I think what Stefanski has done, absolutely, you give him another year. It's a little bit similar to what we're talking about in Los Angeles with the Chargers, right? With Staley, except Stefanski has actually gotten his team to the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a big.
Funny enough, though, the Vegas odds came out today. I think those two are like right up there on the hot seat rankings of next coach final. So I think you give Stefanski another year, though. Absolutely,
he's in a 5-year deal. He's got two more years left at that point.
Contracts.
Yeah, I understand that, but what I mean is, when it comes time to like maybe you're riding the wave or you're treading the waters at that point, when it comes time to the renewal, it might make that decision a little bit easier, especially when you're looking at a point where you've kind of weathered the storm of the capital that you've given up to get Deshaun Watson. Sure. At that point, it makes sense for a new coach to come in and be able to influence that.
The one thing I truly believe in, though, for whether it's Stefanski or any NFL head coach, you don't bring a guy back on a prove it, right? If it's you got to show it to me this year or you're gone, then you're already gone, right?
Yeah.
Just make the move, rip the Band-Aid off, and let's fucking move on. Because there's so many times that coaches is, and I heard Lions fans at the beginning of this year talking about Dan Campbell. Like I just don't know that he's the guy, and a lot of us were constantly saying I'd weather the storm on this one. I would see and patience oftentimes can pay off, but if you're going to come back next year and go Stefanski has to make the playoff or he's gone, then just get rid of him, because that's not really how this fucking works.
Well, and I think it just depends on where the bar is, because I was kind of at that with Zach Taylor in a point of, I know what we have in Burrow, but I need to see progress. So I was at like 7 wins last year. 7 wins would have done it for me. It wasn't. I just need to see that team is moving in the right direction. That's kind of where I was at with Dan Campbell. Now, if Dan Campbell goes out and the Lions are doing the exact same thing that they did last year, I think we're having a very different conversation about that.
Yeah.
Because we're not seeing that progress. It's a totally different lens that we're looking at Kevin Stefanski at right now, because of everything surrounding the Browns right now in terms of draft capital, obviously in terms of not having Deshaun Watson for 2/3 of the season, but it's just, so there's just a lot of other things going in that, but I don't necessarily agree with that. It's not okay to have kind of a bar of progress. You kind of need to see that trajectory, but playoffs for like a Dan Campbell, that didn't make sense. I don't think it necessarily made sense for a Zach Taylor either, considering where that team and that roster was when they took it over. So
it's fair.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the picks this week. So we've got a full slate on Sunday. This is the first, time in a couple weeks where I actually filled up the entire length of the paper with games. So
no more buys.
No more buys, baby. Let's go.
It's Saturday and Sunday.
It's all balls
Saturday
to the wall. We got Thursday. We got football tomorrow night with a short break on Friday. And we got football Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then same thing, Christmas weekend, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So should be great. Definitely looking forward to it. Chat, thank you guys for being here tonight. We had a wonderful time. We'll be back with you guys next week. And hopefully the standings will change a little bit, and Corey and Aaron can break their tie, and Todd and I can gain some more ground. So until then, we'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for coming in.